Hello, and my name is Phil Samba, and my pronouns are he, him. Welcome to the Love Hub as part of the Fringe Queer Film and Arts Festival. The Love Hub is a queer health traveling circus. Someone just came into the room and left. The Love Hub is a queer health traveling circus, which started with events in 2019. Last year we went online because of the pandemic, and this year we're back actually in person, although this is online. We actually have events across London this week. And we're live from 2 p.m. today until 5 p.m. today and tomorrow. And I'd just like to welcome my lovely co-host, Talon.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Talon, and my pronouns are she, her. So as Phil said, we're going to have several events on this weekend, but we'll get into them later. Right now, we are joined by Grant, a programmer for the Fringe Queer Film and Arts Festival, and Will, a director of the Love Hub and a mastermind behind the Love Hub. So please welcome Will and Grant. Hello.
Hi. Hello. It's so lovely to be here. There's a great kind of buzz going on just outside the room. We can see in the little studio we're in, people coming and going, and a whole lot of brilliant activity happening. So it's so great to be seeing all of this going on.
I'm finding it a bit distracting, seeing people like move and stuff. Eyes keep going like that. I'm sorry. So if I'm doing that over the whole thing, I'm really sorry. But how are you both, and what are your pronouns?
Hi, I'm Grant. I use pronouns he, him, and I am from Fringe Queer Film and Arts Fest. I am delighted to be here with all of you, and I'm excited to tell you all about some of the good and exciting things we have coming up this weekend.
And I'm Will, and I also use he, him pronouns. As Phil said, this is the third year of doing the Love Hub with the great folks at Fringe Film Festival. We are hosting about 25 different events and workshops and activities across the whole of this weekend. Downstairs right now at the Love Hub, we have our fifth event, and it's so great to be doing Love Hub Live for the first time here. And thanks, Phil and Talon, for being our hosts for the next 3 hours.
Well, I mean, I'm so excited about it. It's going to be so good. So, Grant, can you tell me why you decided to get involved with Fringe?
Oh, the reason why I decided to get involved with Fringe is my journey for Fringe started off as I was originally a young queer watching films in East London, to then actually Fringe accepting one of my films into their festival, to then me cornering the head of the festival and the director of the festival being like, oi, I want to get involved. And then being like, come in, get involved. And gradually it's just all gone on from there. Fringe is completely volunteer-led, built out of a cut in funding 11 years ago to the Queer Film and Art Festival in London. And it was just a bunch of East London queers who were like, we want these films to be seen by an audience. Let's rally together. Let's make some magic. And we've just grown bigger and better. And we are so excited to be back again with our sexual health angels, the Love Tank, putting together the Love Hub.
Grant, are you no longer like a young queer watching films?
I like to think that I'm a teenage queer, maybe. I'm in the adolescence of my queerness. So yeah, I feel like I turned 30 this year, still adjusting to that term, and also being like, oh, I'm 30, I'm not 22, therefore I can't make the same mistakes that I used to do. So yeah, having this responsibility which comes with age. So I kind of feel like I'm an adolescent queer watching films and enjoying with films and engaging with films, and also just gradually realizing the most exciting thing about films is watching them with an audience, having the interaction, and kind of expanding on what you see on the screen.
Mm-hmm. And Grant, Will, how did you come up with the Love Hub? Like, where did that even come from?
So the kind of the collective of us who ended up setting up the Love Tank, which is the parent company of Prepster and the Love Hub, we've been involved in Fringe almost from day one. And like the kind of the founders of Fringe, we were concerned of the big cut that went on with the queer LGBT film festival 11 years ago, and we kind of jumped on board each year doing being involved in workshops or talking on panels at films. And then because we'd been involved in a kind of fairly informal way for that block of time, 3 years ago, I went out for some food with Muffin and Alex from Fringe, along with Mark, my co-founder, and we sat in a vegetarian restaurant, of course, in Dalston. And on the back of my napkin, I started scribbling down dozens and dozens and dozens of ideas, and we kind of tried to work out which ones we wanted to do. And when I typed up that list, when I got home and sent it back to Muffin and Alex and Mark, their response was, let's do all of them. So this is why 2 years ago we did our first Love Hub at the Rose Lippman building, a fantastic array of events from sexual health, mental health, yoga, relaxation, and as Phil, you said last year, because of COVID, we had to move everything online. And so this year we wanted to do a really nice hybrid. We were aware last year that there were people who joined us online who weren't from London. So we want to make sure that we still have events and conversations that people can tune in. And that's why we're doing Love Hub Live. But also we wanted to do this fantastic array of things actually in a physical space. It's so great to be back when you can kind of taste, touch and smell and see people again. And we kicked off last night with it's kind of a tradition now at the Love Hub that we have some kind of themes. So the opening theme is always around mental health and well-being. It was great this morning for Lee to come and do the deep breath workshop. So another tradition is we always start off one of the weekend mornings with something about kind of breath and body work. And then tomorrow morning, which is the third tradition, is that we'll be doing Black Yogi. So for the last couple of years, both actually online and offline, we've done this great yoga session to kind of really root people down for the beginning of the weekend. So a bit of a plug, if you are in London right now and you'd like to come along to any of our in-person sessions, this really is a kind of a buzzing hub. Three of you look back out the window, there are people in the bookshop where we are buying books, grabbing coffee. This morning we ran the frou-frouing the flaps workshop, which was the genital embroidery workshop. And we actually had to shift everybody out. We overran and shift them into the bar next door because so many people just sat down and had this great time embroidering vulvas and penises and butts and boobs and all these kind of things that actually no one wanted to finish. And we've just closed that down, so it overran because everyone was having such a great time.
And from a Fringe point of view, what I always find so inspiring whenever we meet and we come together with the Love Tank to decide what will be the Love Hub this year is the amazing thing where we're like, oh, we think we have like 10 spaces available. You guys always manage to be like, right, we have 15, but we can make 15 work within the time slot. And it just continues, like the wittiness, like every time it's a little bit different. There's a new special flavor into something. And it's always just exciting to be like, oh, yeah, how can you manage to sell me on 15 different unique events? And I want to attend every single one. So thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to work with you.
So I think we've gone up to 24 or 25 different events over this weekend. When you loop back round Phil and Talon tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, I know you'll be touching base with Mark kind of at the climax of that. I expect Mark will be feeling pretty exhausted. It's going to be a bit of a sprint to get us all through the rest of the weekend.
So, I mean, can you both tell me what you're most looking forward to at the Fringe?
Oh, so I'm going to get a little bit personal here with what I'm most looking forward to. I've signed myself up for Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down tomorrow, which is going to be a little rope play workshop. But also, I think what I'm most curious about, and anyone that is listening and is near us and can potentially get to us quickly, is we are going to be having a session called Wet Play tonight, which is going to be eye-opening. I saw a Drama X's fisting workshop 2 years ago, and now I'm like, I want to know more. To explore this world of kink. I think those are things which I'm particularly interested in. Also, one thing that I'm excited for tomorrow is Desiring TJ Swan, all about the evolution of black gay porn. I feel like Mark, your partner in the Love Tank, is going to take us on this really interesting journey. He's shown me a snippet of his slideshow, and
So I think I've had 3 things I've been looking forward to. The first one is happening right now, which is being stuck in a sweaty glass box next to Grant, which is always a lovely thing, and launching Love Hub Live. My second favorite thing that I was looking forward to has actually already happened, and that was the event we did workshop last night called Dr. Douche and their Magic Disappearing Hose, which was 3 of us talking about anal douching, and it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It was very personal and intimate and hugely educational. We don't have spaces to talk about these things usually, so I was delighted by that. And then actually the third thing I'm looking forward to is Dr. Eleanor, who's going to be coming in at 3:15, doing a session with Talon called All I Want for Christmas is a 3D Clit. And both of you, well, I don't know what you're going to be pulling out of your sleeves, but I'm really looking forward to that session. Dr. Eleanor has been doing little bits of work with the Love Tank over the last 12 months, and she has such a big fan base in my team, such a big fan base, particularly all of the gay boys who absolutely adore Dr. Eleanor and everything that she does. So tune in for Talon and Dr. E in 2 hours, no, an hour's time now.
Sweet. Yeah. You know how I was saying I get distracted?
Yeah.
Someone that I've slept with is like about 2 meters away from me right now. So
well, I'm now wondering who it is, and I'm like,
hang on, you slept with Lee? Lee is now we're also distracted. You can't see in the next room, but Lee is just taking the videos. Hi, Lee.
Okay, I'm distracted. But yeah, I guess like we have like a lot of events, a lot of panel discussions. Like there's parties. Actually, I didn't know there was parties this year. There's parties, which is good. Like talks as well as readings, as well as like there's all sorts. But like so a lot of that has already like happened already because we started on Tuesday. I guess like what's different about this year?
I think going into this year was like an interesting one. Of last year we had so many plans because it was going to be year 10 of Fringe, and then the pandemic happened and everything shut down and we were able to go digital. This year was kind of like we've tried to focus it and being like, we don't know what to expect. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We know what we're doing. We don't know what to expect. And we don't know, we start planning in like February. We don't know what the world was going to be like in November. So I think we've just kind of somewhat gone back to our roots and our mentality of let's bring together the community. Let's keep community completely at the forefront of everything we do, and try and show the world the way it is now. Programming this year has been really interesting with the collection of films and art projects which have been put forward to us. It's been a real exciting journey.
Sweet.
Amazing. Yeah. So, sorry, I just got completely. It sounds so good.
Skip this.
Get off Twitter. Get off Twitter.
We're coming up to the end of this now, actually, this first part. So in about a minute's time, we're going to be moving on to, I believe this is queer migrants in
Queer migrant men.
Queer migrant men in the city. Thank you. So if you want to find out more about the events we've got going on up until Sunday, you can check out the full program, which is at www.fringefilmfest.com/fringe !2021.
So I didn't realize how that would be like reading.
Yeah, it's difficult to read that. So I'm looking at this on a script just so I can kind of get it down. Yeah, and I think we'll be moving on now.
Yeah.
So we'll put the banner up and then we'll be moving on.
Okay. So I guess that's all we have time for at the minute. Pedro, our own queer migrant man, is going to be hosting like a special episode of QMM in the city with guests. So yeah, peace out.
Some water? Yes, please.
Hello, guys. My name is Pedro, and that beside me is Matt.
Hi guys.
Fausto is also with us. But before we start, I'm going to use a script, but I'll position the paper just below the camera so you guys think that I memorize this whole text. So let me introduce the project. Hi, folks. My name is Pedro Lino, and I'm the project coordinator of the Queer Migrant Men Project, or QMM for short. That project is made by the Love Tank CAC. And today I'll be hosting the QMM in the City live event as part of the Love Hub Live for the Fringe Queer Film and Arts Festival. The QMM project aims to help queer men who have moved to London accessing sexual health services in the city, as well as getting more information about their rights when it comes to health. We have a team of volunteers that speak multiple languages, sharing sexual health information face-to-face and online via outreach. The volunteers also share information by hosting live events like this one, but in their mother language. On them, they talk about the other migrants, about their experiences living in the different country as a way to encourage their own communities to look after themselves. We're doing this event in English today, so don't worry about not understanding us. We thought that today would be a good opportunity to showcase the QMM project and to introduce our team of volunteers to the Love Hub viewers. Maybe you're not a migrant, but if the information we are going to share here not only helped you to understand a bit of the challenge we face as migrants in this country, but also inform you of our rights, making you more knowledgeable enough to be an ally and share sexual health tips with our friends from abroad. Today, taking part of this event, we have our volunteer Asad, who is able to speak Urdu and Hindi. Asad is joining us right now. Let's wait for him to say hi. And we also have Fausto, that speaks Spanish. We have Matt, that speaks Russian. Myself, I speak Portuguese. We also have other volunteers that weren't able to join us today, but they are very, very, very helpful for our communities and their communities. So I'll start the questions. And the first question I'm going to aim to you, Matt, because you just arrived in London. I mean, you moved to the UK 2 years ago, but you arrived in London, what, 4 months ago?
Since July, yes. So
Since
my
July.
experience living in London quite new. I'm relatively new, still new, exploring the city. I'm the new addition to this initiative and to this project.
Yeah.
I just started my volunteering last week, and I'm really happy to be part of this great team.
Yes, and Fausto, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Fausto. I've been 8 years already in London. I'm a migrant, of course. What else you want to say, Pedro? I'm part of the project QMM. I'm a volunteer.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to be part of the project. I think it's an amazing way to reach people in different ways, in different languages, and to inform them about everything that London and the health services have to offer for them that they may not know. But thanks to this, we can just give all the information to them.
Yeah. Asad, can you introduce yourself?
Of course. My name's Asad Zafar. I'm 23 years old. I'm a outreach coordinator for the Love Tank. I work in HIV prevention, and I also volunteer for the QMM project. And what I love about the project is we've got a very diverse range of volunteers. So a lot of people feel comfortable speaking to us when it comes to accessing healthcare, sexual healthcare within London. And that's one thing I love back here, man.
Yeah, Assad is not a migrant himself, but he's able to speak Urdu and Hindi, and that's been very, very helpful because in the work Assad has been doing, not as an outreach, but also as a volunteer, we've been seeing how much there is a need in the South Asian communities, right, Assad, to speak their own language, to be able to communicate with them. How has been your experience with them? With them, I mean the community.
Yeah, especially the South Asian migrant community. You have students who are studying here. You have people who speak Urdu. They don't speak English as fluently, so there's that gap. So being able to speak Urdu, understand and speak a bit of Punjabi and Hindi is very beneficial. And then you also bridge that gap where they feel comfortable to talk to you about accessing sexual health, because even within the culture, South Asian culture, it's a very taboo topic to even talk about sex, let alone sexual health, or to ask for help. And I've realized that being able to speak these languages to bridge that gap is so beneficial. It makes people feel more comfortable because you're going to have people who want the help, who don't necessarily know where to go, but that initial fear inside to speak to someone and to open up to someone and to ask for help is what stops them and holds them back. So in my work, it makes me so happy that I'm that approachable person where people feel comfortable. And even initially, a lot of men haven't felt comfortable at the start, but building that rapport, mentioning, oh, do you take PrEP, etc., things like that, bridge that gap. And it's very important. It's extremely important because there's people who want to talk about these things. They want to have these uncomfortable conversations, but they just don't know where to go or where to start these conversations.
Mm-hmm. And you've been very brave to be able to feel strong enough to show your face and give voice to these people, or speak up for these people and take the information up there, right?
Definitely. With me, I came out about a year and a half ago as a gay Muslim Pakistani man, and that really fueled for me, like coming out, living an authentic life and wanting to help others, even if they are in the closet. And I understand everybody has different pressures like safety, family, etc., social pressures, etc. At least live a safe life. Even if you're living like a double life, which I was to an extent, you want to live safely. You want to have safe sex. You want to know the best ways to protect yourself, the best measures to take. And that's one thing that's really fueled it for me, where I've been through my own experience. I'm still going through this experience. Like, it's still very recent, very new to me. I'm still navigating queer spaces, which is what I love. I can get in the mindset of people who haven't been in these spaces for long or are very new to these spaces, so I can somewhat relate to them. And it's just that being relatable for them to know that you're somewhat similar to them and you somewhat understand, that they'll feel comfortable speaking to you and getting the help that they want and they need.
And we're talking about coming out, and I really commend you for being brave to do so. But I was talking with Matt these past weeks, and I'm going to ask you two questions, Matt. Can you tell us your story of coming out, and this you coming out, is related to you moving abroad?
I mean, coming out had different stages.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where you're from first, so people can understand your life a bit more?
So I was born in former Soviet Union in USSR and Georgia, and then we were displaced, and I moved around. I grew up in Russia and living in different countries, and there was no one this coming out event. It was, I think, different moments, because sometimes parents feel way beforehand the person themselves or herself. And yes, and because this topic is super stigmatized and very sensitive, it was something like taboo like topic, and people, family members or people knew, but they would put a blind eye on it, like try not to discuss. And yeah, so it was not through the verbal, but through different actions. It came to as this came out process. Yes.
Was that what motivated you to become an activist? Because I know you do activism way before you moved to London or to the UK even.
Yeah. So I was really interested in human rights and different initiatives to help to be someone to create a support system for vulnerable people, marginalized members of society. And my cousin being oppressed and being a lesbian and not being forced into the marriage, and she couldn't cope with that and she committed suicide. This was a turning point for me to start. If there's no one to speak up, to stand for, a bright young generation is just lost for in the hands of some ridiculous, not ridiculous, but pointless oppression for being themselves and to be suitable or for the society to be a good, growing up in a society where it is not appreciated to be different, it's hard to, person is kind of forced to conform to the norms or to the requirements of society. And I could see this, it was not just my cousin, there were so many other people who needed that help. And I didn't know how to start it. So I started small, joining some different volunteering initiatives, helping people with living with HIV. And this is how it grew. And yes, and I still do activism based in London, mostly covering former Soviet Union countries.
It sounds like really important work that you've been doing right now. And it's also very important work that we've been doing here. Fausto, you how long you've been living in London right now?
8 years. Just turned 8 years on the 1st of November.
Yeah. And would you feel comfortable to tell us a bit more about what, let's say that someone is coming from Latin America right now. Could you explain to this person what rights they have when it comes to accessing, not the rights, but what services they are available for free on the NHS for them to access to take care of themselves and their sexuality?
Well, it will depend firstly from which country from Latin America they will come. I'm just gonna speak about my experience. I'm from Venezuela. I came to the country. I'm able to be in the country and like to use all the services from the UK because I also have European passport. But for Venezuelans with Venezuelan passport, I think it's harder to enter to the country because they will need an extra visa permit. Yeah. I'm not very familiar with it, but that's kind of like a barrier that they have. But a lot of people as well in my circle, they have European passports, so that's okay. As soon as you come to London, the services, you are able to use any kind of service when it comes to sexual health. I think one of the examples that I heard in the QMM live that I did with Jose and with Armando, they were really surprised about how easy it was for them to use the services in London, the sexual health services in London. They didn't need any ID. They didn't need to give their details or any kind of similar situation. It was straightforward for them. It was super confidential. They make you feel comfortable with everything. They support you with every information needed. So I think in talking about that subject in specific is really, really easy if you're coming from Latin America and you're planning to live in the UK. All the aspects related to sexual health services are reachable in any kind of way and confidential 100%.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say as well, like, for example, if I have come here as a tourist and I decide to stay, and live my life as a migrant here, I will still be able to access sexual health services. And when I say sexual health services, guys, I'm talking about access to testing. There are different options to access tests in the UK. It's in London. If you live in London, you can order test kits online. They are delivered to your home. You don't have to give your real name at any point. Of course, you have to register on their website, and you have to give a postcode so that the parcel could be delivered. But other than that, everything is very confidential. And if you don't want to give your postcode, why not give your friends, or your mate or at work? It doesn't matter. Also, if you don't want to do the self-test kit, because you do have to sample yourself, you can also go to a sexual health clinic. Sexual health clinics are available in all over London, and you can go there and to do your testing. Also, you can go there to get treatment. If you move to the UK with and you're living with HIV, you can go to any of these clinics to restart or get more meds, and etc. You can also access PrEP. You can also access PEP. Those are medications to, if you're not living with HIV, you can access these medications to prevent acquiring HIV. So PrEP is pre-exposure, PEP is post-exposure. We have more information on our website as well about those two don't know if they're medications, but those two ways of preventing, those two prevention tools. And you can also get free condoms on sexual health clinics. If you want latex-free condoms, you can also get on the sexual health clinics, but you can't get online. Another thing that's important to say, I mean, is dreading a bit, isn't it? But these are very important information. Another thing is important to say is that you can get a Hep B vaccine and HPV vaccine. The HPV are for gay men or queer men that are 45 years old or younger. The Hep B doesn't matter. And that's it. So this information is really important to be shared because that's the information that people most know. Fausto, I know you've been doing NetReach a lot. Maybe I could explain a bit of how QMM works. I said in the beginning, actually, we do outreach face to face. Matt and Assad are doing that all of the time, and then we also do it via online. We call it NetReach. Basically, we use dating apps to share information. Fausto, you've been doing that since June. How has it been going for you?
The net reaching has been really fulfilling. It was really surprising for me to see the reaction of people responding to it. I've been working through Grindr, net reaching through Grindr.
Oops.
Oh.
Something happened, obviously, with Fausto's connection. Oh, but he's right back.
Sorry.
It's fine.
My
I love you. He was so quick to come back.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, because I was preparing it because I
Well done.
changed that thing. Anyway, so I'm back. So as I was saying, the net reaching, it was really fulfilling and surprising for me to see the reaction of people responding to it, because they not only were really grateful about the solutions that we provide and all the information that we provide, but they also were really supporting, on the sense of, I got so many people telling me, oh, this is such a nice project, this is such a nice nice work, the one that you're doing, keep doing it, thank you so much for this. So having the community these kinds of activities.
Fausto, the connection is breaking up a bit. So because of your connection is breaking up a bit, I would like to see for you, Assad, who's also been doing NetReach, if you could carry on, because how is it going for you?
NetReach for me is, again, it's very fulfilling. It's giving a little breakdown of it. We use social media apps such as Grindr, Scruff, Jacked, essentially hookup apps where we can get to men who have sex with men, MSM, and just let them know what sexual health services are available. If they need any help with their sexual health at all, any frequently asked questions, where to access PrEP, PEP, just more of understanding what U equals U is. and it has been really fulfilling. One thing I've realized on these apps is there's also people who don't want the help. There's people who are on there for a certain reason, like just to get what they need here and now, etc. Because we all know that's what Grindr is most commonly used for. But you do get out of, for example, when I message about 80 men, I'll get responses from about 6 or 7 who really value the information that we put out there, who are happy for the help, and they feel that sense of connection as well, that they're speaking to a real person, not just a robot or a bot who actually cares for them, cares for their sexual health, because they might not have that from their friends or family. They might be scared to ask their friends, etc. So this work is really fulfilling, and net reaching really does help. We do speak to the right people. We do get our name out there, the help out there, the resources out there. There's people who don't know where to access free condoms. There's people who don't know that you can just use the NHS website tracker and put your postcode in to find your nearest clinic. People don't know that these services are out there, very simple services, and these services aren't pushed enough. So I'm happy that we're doing that work to push what is already there out there more and create more innovative ways to get this information put across. Net reaching is very, very, very useful.
Yeah, I'll go back to Fausto now. Fausto, what is the most common question people have been asking to you during net reach? Do you know?
Yeah. They ask a lot for PrEP. They ask a lot for where to find PrEP, how PrEP works, different questions related to it. And they ask as well for the free condoms and lube. That's the most common one.
Yeah. How about you, Asad? Do you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely PrEP, where they can access PrEP. And what I get a lot is, are there any side effects to PrEP? So I come across a lot of men who aren't taking PrEP. I want to know what the side effects are. And most people don't even feel side effects. Within like 3 days to a week, you could just be nauseous, stomach ache, dizziness, and that's just your body getting used to the new medication. But there's like lots of misconceptions that PrEP has a lot more side effects, or it interacts with a lot of medications, when it's best to ask your doctor before you start PrEP. But PrEP doesn't interact with most medications. If you're trans, it's completely safe to use when taking hormones as well. Like there's lots of misconceptions people have. So net reaching really alleviates that, because people are worried to even ask a doctor about PrEP, PEP, etc. And one thing I've realized also in GP practices and surgeries is that medical practitioners don't have up-to-date training on what PrEP even is. So that's why this work is so much more important, because there's people in higher positions of power who don't even have that basic understanding. Like PrEP was only available free on the NHS last year during a pandemic. Do you know what I mean? So we're still making big strides in HIV prevention, and that's why it's even more important to get this information out there, because there's people in higher positions who haven't got that adequate training regarding what PrEP is, PEP is. And yeah, that's a common question I always get on net reaching is, where can I get PrEP? Is PrEP right for me, etc.
Yeah, and very recently as well, because of the outreach you've been doing. Actually, before I ask that, how is it been for you, Matt, to do outreach? Basically, what we do on outreach, we go to different venues in bars that welcome LGBTQI plus community, and we give out resources that people can find information about how to take care of themselves. They can find condoms and etc. So Matt and I and Asad, we've been doing lots of outreach for this specific project, and Asad even other projects as well. So Matt, how is it been for you to do the outreach?
Yeah, my experience is quite new. I'm still learning, but so far it was a really great experience. First, I had this anxiety coming out, being new to London, and after so many multiple lockdowns from past year, I had this social anxiety, and picture myself approaching people and talking to them on a topic very intimate, sexual health, was a bit scary. But then meeting Asad and giving this vibe, Asad is very joyful, joyous, and he boosted me, and we were out on the street. And then after you start, it just goes smoothly. And so far, it was a great experience.
It's been great as well. My experience working with you, and it's funny you mentioned the fear I have in talking to people about sexual health. I always fear their reaction, but it's such an important topic to talk to people. You know, I remember that Fausto we do a series of events that we've been calling QMM in the city, and Fausto done one 2 weeks ago. with other Spanish-speaking guys, and you guys were talking about this peer-to-peer support, right?
Yeah.
How important is for you, Fausto, to have this social circle, and how hard was it for you, or it has been, I don't know, for you to create your support group in a foreign country?
I think for everyone it's different, but in my case, it is related to people who move to a big city. As you know, London is gonna have all the time people coming in and people coming out. So basically, your support groups or your circles, you will see yourself in a situation that you create a nice circle and then that circle disappears because they're gone, and you have a new one. So that gives you from one side the ability to kind of create, socialize, to give you like a lot of skills from adaptability, that makes you strong in a sense. But also another pro is that you meet a lot of people which you can share experiences, and when you can kind of speak about these subjects, promoting in a sense, and then make you feel that you belong somewhere, that you belong to some kind of people. And yes, it is important to have these kind of circles, because isolating, I mean, I think we all experimented with COVID. Isolation just gonna bring a lot of probably behaviors that they're not beneficial for you. But having this peer-to-peer talk, having these circle groups is a great support for health, for mental health, for I can even say for sexual health as well, because this is something that information that you can share with them and support whatever happens. So yeah, I completely support the idea of having a circle around
Do you
yourself.
relate to that?
Yes, absolutely. Being new to country, not having this bubble or like circle of friends. This is also in a way, not only you contributing to a beneficial initiative that helps, but you're also building connections and your circle of friends. And yeah, so this combination of friendship and networking and socializing, it's just great. Yes. And we do go different parts of London, and London is amazing when it comes to entertainment and life, and just walking, talking to people coming from different cultures, you learn a bit. Like, although if you spend a few minutes, you can share information, and you fulfill each other with new information or with new skills or experiences in London. Yes.
So basically, what we're saying is that if you have the information within you, why not to share with your?
Yes, you feel empowered to have that information, and you share that, and sharing is caring, and you're empowering other people.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's just breaking down that stigma, like that that not to have uncomfortable conversations with your friends, because everybody has sex, everybody eats, everybody drinks. Do you know what I mean? We go out for a meal, like we talk about, oh, what did you eat the other day? We should talk about sex. Everybody's having sex, so why not make sure that your friends are being safe too, that they know where to go and what to do, etc. Like, it's just breaking down that stigma, and like you said, it's social pressures and society has just crammed you in a box that there's certain things that you can't talk about, certain things that you shouldn't talk about, or etc. So it's good to talk to your friends, because that's where a lot of people get their information from, their friends, in passing by comments and passing by in conversations. So it's very important to talk to your peers as well. If you know there's something that they can benefit from, whether that be in terms of sexual health or just health as a whole, it's really important to speak to your friends about this stuff. Don't feel forced to speak to your friends, but if it comes up in conversations, don't be scared to have that conversation.
Yeah, but Fausto was also saying that sometimes it can be hard as a migrant to make our social circles, because there's a lot of moving, a lot of people going, and a lot of people coming, and to develop this sense of belonging. You know, in my experience, I belong when I'm with my people, my community. So it can be really hard to feel like you belong when there's people moving about, and you've like, oh, I finally met that friend that is going to be with me, and then boom, this person goes, and you're like, oh no, I'm back again.
So many times. I've been so many times in a situation that I'm already used to it. For me, it's like a routine. So I think I already built that kind of protection, let's call it like that, for when I have like a new friendship or new circles. And in my mind, I know that nothing is forever, so that's kind of protects me as well. And then if it ends or they're gone, it's like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I will meet some people again. But it's okay. It's fine. It's not the end of the war, but it is difficult at the beginning.
It's not, but still.
No, yeah, that's why I want to clarify. It is difficult at the beginning. I'm not saying, I'm not invalidating anyone's experiences, but it has solutions. It is, as I said, if you lose someone, it's not forever. It's temporary. You will find someone else who you can share this. You can grow. You can learn, and you can be part of a circle and belong again. So
yeah, in 8 years maybe you develop more skills, but it depends also. There are different types of relationships, and friendships can be different too. And with some friendship, it's for entire life, and it's hard to acknowledge that that person is leaving or will be so many kilometers or miles away. And
I remember when my first friend, she left the country. She was Brazilian as well. She was also my first friend in the UK. It broke my heart. It broke my heart badly. And I live with my husband. He's British, but not having that person that made me feel like, okay, I have a home away from home, here. It can be very lonely, isn't it? So on top of not having all the information we need, on top of having to work and find ways of getting money, there is a lot of feeling, in my experience, lonely as well.
Yeah.
And we recently have a case that I shared with Matt, because it was someone from a country where they speak Russian, and this person was feeling out of place as well, wasn't Matt? It was feeling a bit lost.
Yes, and secure. Yes, and secure. Person doesn't speak English well, and these linguistic obstacles create more problems. And on top of being from a country where there is a huge stigma around HIV and being a LGBT, and being in a different country, new to country, person knows that there's an access to a house, but approaching and not knowing language well stops person from reaching out and getting this house access. So it was really great for Pedro and for him first to reach out, and then Pedro put me into contact. And yesterday he called me several times saying, thank you. He was so grateful for that initiative, and he didn't expect that we would be so prompt to contact him. And we're now getting appointments for him next week, and within a few days he will get his medication.
Gosh, that's such a good news. Thank you so much for doing that, man.
Thank you.
And I think that shows the importance of what we do. You see, we don't, and that's the thing, we don't realize how much this is the info card that we share. We go to different venues and we put those on tables, or the net reach that Fausto do. We don't realize how much impact that has in the community. Because now what happened to this guy, he found this home away from home, not exactly, I'm putting words in his mouth, but he found someone that who could understand him and who could relate to him. And now he has the tools because the sexual health clinics have interpreters. Even though I know that you said that you could interpret for him. So if you're someone that you're feeling like you want to do things by yourself, you can rely, and you're watching us, you can count on the sexual health clinics to provide interpreters if you don't feel confident in your English enough. And that's the service that is free and not everybody knows, So all of a sudden you have a place that understands you, that speaks your language. You don't have to translate yourself all the time. And that means so much. It's such a great news to hear that.
And people are not comfortable also to speak about their health condition, and especially where people coming from a huge stigma, they feel embarrassed to actually reach out to for help and don't feel comfortable even mentioning it and getting the help. So these mediums, we act as a mediums between health clinics and those people who cannot speak out for themselves. We facilitate, and it's great feeling.
Yeah, we are the bridge, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And we're reaching. There's 10 minutes to go to the end of the session, so I'm going to ask the same questions to everyone, and I'll try to reply because I just made the question, didn't answer anything. So I'll try to reply to this question as well. So I'll start with you, Assad, because
Yeah.
And please, Assad, when you finish answering, we're going to say goodbye to you
Okay.
because you'll have to set up the room that you are. But could you share with us, please, tips for people, maybe specific South Asian communities they're migrating to the UK, and how to queer migrants,
Yeah.
and how to find their community, how to feel like they belong, and how to take care of themselves.
First, there's a lot of like tips I have going off my own experience, which is crazy because obviously I'm not a migrant man. I was born here. But finding my own community, take it easy. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to straight away try and find a certain community. Don't put that stress on you because it becomes very daunting very quickly. Take your time, go at your own pace. And when it comes to finding your own community, look for spaces and areas. The internet is the best tool. Twitter, Facebook, groups, for example, queer South Asian groups or queer South Asian club nights. Whether you drink, whether you don't drink alcohol, there's sober spaces around as well. Just find places where you can see others and connect, because especially like we've all mentioned, we want to feel that sense of belonging, and you feel like that sense of belonging when you find your community. So you're going to want to look for your community, and if you do find that space, chances are whoever's there wants the same thing. They're looking for the same thing, people to connect to, people to talk to. I've been to club nights very recently, coming out to South Asian club nights where I've gone alone. And I did feel that pressure. I was scared. I was worried. I was like, I don't know anybody. I can't just rock up here alone. But I felt the fear and I did it anyway. I was like, let me go anyway. And I found some amazing people who I now talk to on a daily basis. And we've met up a few times. And I'm forming that group from meeting people I didn't ever know. You find people with amazing vibes. Like, don't be scared. Like, believe in yourself. You will find people. London's a large city. It's a city that never sleeps. You're going to find somebody who you're going to connect with. It will take time. You will find that group. Just keep that perseverance. Like you said, that you might feel like you're getting close to someone and then they back away. But keep that perseverance, keep strong. You will find that sense of belonging. You will find people who remind you of home and make you feel like you are at home. Social media is a great tool. Twitter's a great tool. Instagram to connect. There's so many South Asian pages. There's so many pages for each demographic, like each ethnicity, do you get what I mean? For African Caribbean men, Latino men, South Asian men. So don't be scared to use social media. Don't be scared to be yourself and show people who you are, your authentic self. Don't pretend to be somebody else because you feel like that will help you fit in. People want to know you for you, and you deserve to be known for you. Like, those are the tips I would give to somebody who's trying to find that sense of belonging in a new city, in a new country.
And Assad, what if this person is moving here with their family and they still having a hard time to be themselves, but obviously they might be having sex? What tips do you have for this person that is still unable to be themselves, to access the sexual health services that we talked about?
First thing I would always say is that your safety comes before anything. Your safety is paramount. Like, there's cultural taboos, there's stigma around safety and families' honors, especially in the South Asian community. So in terms of if you want to be getting tested, self-testing at home might not be the most comfortable solution for you, especially like HIV testing. It can get a bit messy, like finger pricking with blood. Like, you can be worried about people seeing it, your family, your friends, asking you, what's this? Like, there's a lot of pressure. So I'd really recommend finding your nearest sexual health clinic, putting your postcode in the NHS, find a sexual health clinic tab. You can literally just find it off Google. Also, take care of yourself, find those spaces, but make sure to find that healthy balance between home life and navigating queer life. If you're not ready to infuse the two and mix the two, go at your own pace again. Don't put stress on yourself, because I understand how difficult it can be being a Muslim Pakistani man, coming from a culture that can be somewhat oppressive against you and hold you back. Finding that balance between communicating, navigating queer spaces with your friends, and then also family duties, family responsibilities, being that person you were told you had to be growing up. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take it easy and go at your own pace. Even if you feel like that pace is going very slowly, you're not getting anywhere, you will in the future. And you will grow during that process, and you will find more confidence, you will find your voice more, etc. Not saying everybody is the same. Some people don't have as much confidence, some people have lots of confidence. Everybody's path is different. No one will have the same journey, do you get what I mean? So just remember your safety is paramount, and that you can do anything. Like, you'll be fine.
Asad, thank you so much for
No.
what you shared. If you can please leave the room and look for Phil, and Antonio will be removing you from the stream now.
No, take care, everybody. I'm talking to you.
Cheers. Bye-bye, Asad. And Fausto, how about you? And because we're running out of time, can you say, including Brazil, the whole of Latin America community, what do you suggest for us when we come to London and to find our community and to keep taking care of ourselves? What tips do you?
I think, well, Asad said everything.
Yes,
but
right.
But for our community, I think the best thing and the easiest way to start is just remember who you were when you were living in your country, in your main country, and try to find the same activities that you were doing on there. And then from those activities, you will start meeting people. You will start sharing stories. Then you will start building your confidence again to start going out, to start socializing. So I think that's kind of the best way to start. And I think as a main tip to then approach the tips that Asad mentioned, which are really important as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how about you, Matt? I know you just arrived. And I think Fausto mentioned something that is very interesting, which is, do the same stuff that you do. Yesterday, you showed me an app or a website. I don't know.
Meetup, yes.
Do you think that's a good?
It is great way of meeting and making new friends, especially if there is not that big community in the country. There is a huge community for Southeast Asian people, for Latin America, but there's not much. There's not big community, and people don't. People from former Soviet Union, they don't live in particular area. It's very scattered all around, London, and it is sometimes hard to reach out and find that particular group, and especially queer communities coming from that countries is minuscule, almost non-existent. And we should understand also those people had to conceal for so long their true selves. So I would suggest here, not jump into it should go. The process should go slowly so that they, because sometimes it might be overwhelming to be a new country and to start over, and everything. As Asad he summed up.
Take your time.
Take your time. Enjoy your life in the UK. UK has so much to offer, and London is a great city to make new friends.
So many groups, so many online networks like Meetup or Facebook or Telegram that you can find. But guys, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for taking part, and thank you so much for volunteer. And all of the volunteers for QMM and in the world, I think, because we do and you do such important work, and we're making difference in people's life day after day. And also we're making friends. Oh, come on, we have everything here, right? So if you want to volunteer as well, just join us on the you can send us an email to outreach at prepster.info. And if you have questions, you can also send an email to outreach at prepster.info. And if you have a friend that needs information, just share it with us. And thank you so much for your time. And
thank you very much.
Thank you guys for participating, and carry on with us because there's more coming up for the Love Hub. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
We're back again. I feel bad because we didn't actually thank our guests.
Oh, that's bad. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Will and to Grant, especially, for opening up with us. Yeah,
sweet. Okay, so welcome back. Well, right now we're gonna show you a short video that I made. Basically, we've been working on prep for about 6 years, and like originally I wanted to do it to like raise awareness because and share information because a lot of people didn't know that the information was there, and although like it's widely available, HIV rates are still like quite high amongst young queer men of color, and like the rates are going down across all groups, but not in the same way. So I did this video from the perspective of young queer men of color to talk about those issues, and then we're just gonna have a conversation about it. One second.
trying to figure out where the video is. I imagine. Hi everyone, just to let you know, we're just having a few technical issues. We're trying to get the video up. Shouldn't be longer than a couple of minutes or so, okay? So just bear with us whilst we deal with that. Thanks.
So I recently started taking PrEP a week and a half ago. Yeah, I take PrEP once a day, every single day.
Not yet, unfortunately.
So PrEP is medication that you take that prevents you from getting HIV. Side effects from PrEP for me, they were only at the beginning, only lasted, I want to say, about 2 weeks. And that was just like weird discomfort in my stomach.
I did. Ooh, I had an upset stomach. And I also had nausea.
For someone who's douched, like the weird discomfort in your stomach is not a new thing. But after that, it's just been like taking a pill and not even realizing it.
Am I worried about any potential side effects? Kind of, but no at the same time. When I kept asking questions, but the doctor reassured me that it doesn't really do much. How did I hear about PrEP?
I think I was at uni, to be fair. Well, how long ago was that? Jesus, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
I heard about PrEP from clinics that I went to, and also friends that have also insisted that I get it.
And I went to get like the PEP because I kind of had like a scare.
PEP, so post-exposure, and then there was PrEP.
At the time, I think it was still on trial. So I just tried to keep in a loop when it was coming back.
One of my friends who works in, I guess I'd say the sexual health part of life, or like helping with underprivileged communities, etc. He very much was how I like heard about PrEP. And then obviously my nagging friend was talking about it. And then he, with all the escapades, was very much just like, so 4 years later on, are you gonna get on it? And it was during the pandemic, I had no reason not to get on it. So then, yeah, that's how I got on PrEP.
When I was a baby gay, I didn't know that there was many sexual health clinics for gay men. So I decided to Google them, search up if there are. Thank God there are.
Sexual health information for me always started with going to the clinic because I started quite young. So it was like the safest place for me to go. They kept it like anonymous. So there was no one in my business. It was just me and the doctor, I could tell. And even then it was crazy because at the beginning I wasn't necessarily telling my doctor everything, but it got to the point where I was comfortable enough and there was that kind of security to talk to them consistently about whatever I was doing sexually.
I have used like online HIV testing kits and stuff.
So the world has changed for the better. These at-home kits, are probably the best thing ever.
So I do like the whole chlamydia, gonorrhea, like the swabs thing, and I send that off.
I would go to the sexual health clinic, but planning, going, waiting, oh my God, the wait time. And I was like young when I started going. So they kind of had to like see you quickly because it was like, they're young, they might just leave, etc., etc. They wanted to make sure they always had someone for you to speak to. But the timings were not ideal. But when I found out that I could like request an at-home kit, and then I got my first at-home kit, and then I did it by myself. And then I sent it in and I got my results within like, I want to say less than 7 days. The world has changed for the better.
So coming from a South Asian Muslim background, where I used to live back at home with my parents, I couldn't really have home testing kits, so that was always out of the question because I didn't really have much privacy then. Now that I live by myself and I'm more responsible for myself, I can either get self-testing kits and I don't have to lie about where I'm going to get tested if I am going in person. So yeah, my family was majorly the stopping cause for that.
Okay. So people who say that you should only use PrEP and you shouldn't use a condom don't actually take into consideration that there's a lot of times where you don't use a condom, and we kind of all know that.
I don't know, I actually think the more protection, the better. Why just use condoms when you can use PrEP as well and actually protect you from HIV?
You get chlamydia, you can sort it out. Having HIV is actually kind of really dramatic change in your life. So yeah, PrEP for the win, honey.
I think that's personally why I kind of want to get PrEP, because I'm like, okay, at least I know I've got that extra security against HIV than just condoms.
I just feel like I can be more comfortable having sex in general. I don't have to worry about the other person being negative or positive or undetectable. There's less anxiety that I used to have than before. But yeah, still try.
Hi. It's hilarious because the viewers can't see the chaos behind the scenes.
Yes. Thank you for bearing with us as we sorted everything out. I really liked that video.
Thank you.
That was really well produced.
Thank
it was
you.
very interesting. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to bring Will into the room so we can kind of discuss together for a couple of minutes about the kind of how and why of the video. So if we can try and bring Will in. Hi, Will.
Hey, the video is absolutely amazing. Well done, Phil, and all the team. And it was, Phil, it was a few weeks ago that we spent a great Saturday filming that and putting it together. So it's really great to see how it's all come out. And Phil, you'll remember that we put that video together because we've started to see lots of evidence that young gay men, particularly men under 25, are one of the groups that are less likely to be starting PrEP. We know the IMPACT trial that finished about just over a year ago, when we look back at the demographics of those people who sought PrEP from the IMPACT trial, that if you are a young queer man of 25 or under, you're much less likely to have sought PrEP on the IMPACT trial. Phil, you know, through our work, through the guys that we're speaking to on things like NetReach, so the online outreach where we do, or the work that Pedro does through the QMM project that we've just heard about, that when we go online or offline in clubs and bars and talk to guys, quite often it's those younger guys who don't know about PrEP, who don't know how to access it. If they don't have English as a first language, quite often they're having difficulties navigating those PrEP services, or quite often, particularly if you're a queer migrant man, you might not understand that sexual health services, NHS sexual health services, are free at the point of care. So this is why we set the video up, and let's hope that as a result of this, there are more conversations about PrEP, that more people know that they can access PrEP for free on the NHS, and more young queer men are navigating sexual health services in the way that they deserve, and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that everyone in that video was under 25, and also the fact that I think that that their generation has a kind of different attitude towards sexual health and HIV than mine, even though there's only like a few years between me and them. So I think it's really important to like listen to them and kind of do what we can to use the information we get from them to better our work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was great, Phil, that there were, those men were so candid about their experiences. I think it was Mark who talks about, waiting to be told by somebody, or maybe it was Farik, one or the other of them, waiting to be told by somebody that, that PrEP was available. And I think that was probably you who had been that person they were talking about. So I'm so proud that they were so candid.
I think it helped that there was the previous event that we did with the same people, which then allowed people to be comfortable and stuff. So yeah.
So Phil and Talon, we've talked about PrEP. I think it's time to move the subject on and talk about 3D clits. And I've actually just been sitting out in the coffee shop. For those of you who are watching in, we are live from a coffee shop and bookshop at the corner of Brick Lane and Bethnal Green Road. And in the coffee shop, there's all sorts of conversations going on out there. And I was just sitting with Dr. Eleanor a few moments ago, and she got out this whole array of 3D clits. And she's going to be talking with you, Talon, I think, in just a few minutes. So I'm going to say goodbye. Great to pop in and see you both, and I know I'll see you on later across the weekend. And I think I'm going to let you hand over to Dr. E. Have fun.
Thank you so much, Will. So yes, we are going to be just popping on a banner real quick, because we're going to be changing out. It's going to be quite quick. And then Eleanor's going to come and join us, or join me, and we're going to talk about All I Want for Christmas is a 3D clit. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see this stuff.
looking for Dr. Eleanor and for and Talon, who are going to be talking about All I Want for Christmas is a 3D Clit in just a few moments. If you can just be patient, give us 30 seconds or so while they do their setup in the next stream. But Phil, we've just been talking about PrEP. Before that, we were talking about queer migrant men. What are you excited about for the rest of the stuff that we've got coming up at the whole of the Love Hub over the next day and a half?
I really wanted to see Mark's event, but because I'm doing this, I won't be able to see it. I'm going to try and find it online because that looks incredible. Seeing him put the slides together of all those like vintage porn from like this, I don't know how far back, but it's really interesting. I think I could learn a lot from it.
And what would remind people what that people who are listening in or watching in what that is? What is Mark's event?
It's about basically the like black queer porn of the past. And I just think that it's a sensational thing. Like, I think it's very different to how porn is now, and especially with how we consume it with things like OnlyFans and Twitter and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see how things have changed, as well as how I guess fetishes have changed, like kinks have changed, that sort of thing.
I'm looking forward to 2 events on activism. So one tonight, A is for activism, when a great friend of ours, Monica Pearl, is going to be talking with a bunch of other activists, including Assad, who was on the QMM event just now. Going to be talking about what we can learn across generations of activists. So tonight, I'm getting really excited for that. And then we have another event tomorrow night, which is also about activism, when 4 of us are doing quick 10-minute monologues under the theme of activism, and I'm really, really excited about that one. So I think we're getting a little nod from our colleagues next door that says that they're ready, but maybe they're not. Oh, they are ready. We've got the thumbs up. Amazing. So we are going to talk about all things Clitty related, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. So we are going to not go to Phil and Talon. We are going to go to Talon and Eleanor. We're changing your names, don't worry, we're doing it right here for you. Yes, so that no one is confused. All sorts of chit chat around clit. So have an amazing time. We're going to be watching in and probably typing all of the kind of questions that the pair of us who haven't been near a clit for a very long time will want to ask. So, very shortly.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the All I Want for Christmas is a 3D Clit, and I'm joined by Dr. Eleanor. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm amazing. I'm so excited for this session. I've already seen a little preview of what's to come. So I'm going to pass over to Eleanor, and she's going to introduce herself and introduce the session.
I will. So, hi everyone. My name's Dr. Eleanor Drager. I'm a sexual health and HIV doctor in the NHS and a sex education trainer. And I do a bit of writing as well, but we're not here for writing today. And what I'm here for is to basically talk to you about clitorises, but, you know, to give you a bit more background, history, information. And also it's an interactive session. So could you, on either another window or on another device or on a phone, I'd like you to go to menti.com and put in a code. I'm just going to tell you what the code is. Yeah, oh, there it is, the code. Yeah, you don't have to log in or make an account or do anything. You can just go and then tap the heart so that I know that you're in and watching. I don't even know how many people are watching, so I don't know how many to look for.
No idea.
I'm hoping at least one person is watching, otherwise it won't be so interactive. So we're just going to give it a minute or so. At least one person is watching.
Oh, there
Yay!
we go. There we go. Got 3.
Brilliant. Good to know.
Welcome.
I get a little different coloured hearts when you've tapped it to say that you're here. So what I've got is a couple of quiz questions. There are no prizes for the quiz, I'm afraid, and then some history, and then I've got the opportunity to for you to ask me questions. Either I don't know if it can happen in this chat or it can happen on my Menti, so it's whichever works for you. So my first question is, could you look on the Menti and tell me if you could draw and accurately label a picture of the vulva? Be honest if you couldn't. And I can see the results, and so far it's mainly no, which is a shame, but that is just the way that it is. Okay, how about then, could you draw and accurately label a picture of the penis? Again, be honest. So everybody says yes. And you should know that when I go to teach teenagers about sex education in schools, in any kind of school, like mixed school, boys' school, girls' school, what you find is that almost everyone can draw and accurately label a picture of the penis, and not very many people can draw and accurately label a picture of the vulva.
Why do you think that is?
So I think it's lots of reasons. Like, I know that in some schools they still don't even teach the word vulva; they teach penis and vagina, which makes no sense. Because, and then I've challenged teachers on this sometimes. And they say, "Oh, but it's because the penis is on the outside, and the vagina and the penis is on the outside, and the vagina is on the inside." And I'm like, well, actually, you can see the penis from the outside, and you can't see the vagina from the outside, but you can see the vulva. So why aren't we talking about that? And then they say, oh, but we talk about testicles and they're outside. I'm like, no, they're not. Testicles are inside the scrotum, and they don't teach people the scrotum. So I'm on a bit of a mission to give people the actual words for the actual things. Because if you imagine you fell over in the playground and you broke your arm, you would go to the doctor and say, I've broken my arm. I've got a privately sent question. I will answer that in a moment. So if you were in the playground and you broke your arm, you're a child, you broke your arm, or you're an adult and you break your arm, then you would go to the doctor and say, I've broken my arm, or I've hurt my arm, or my arm. You wouldn't say, oh, this dangly thing next to my elbow is a bit hurty. You would say, I've hurt my arm. And you might even say left arm or left elbow or left whatever. So why is it that we expect a small person to fall over, hurt themselves between the legs, and then say it hurts down below? Surely they should know the names for their own body parts. Like, it's only their own body part that I want them to know. I don't necessarily want them, anyway. So I've had a question, which is, what's the difference between the vulva and the vagina? So basically, the vulva is everything that you can see from the outside. That includes the labia or the outer lips. And it includes sometimes you can just see the very opening of the vagina. It depends whether someone's got their legs open or closed. And the vagina is basically the tube that goes from the vulva to the uterus. And you can remember that the vagina is on the inside because vagina has in the name. So it's really simple. The vulva is on the outside and the vagina is on the inside. And so that's when they talk about penis versus vagina, that is basically centering everything on a very heteronormative, cisgendered view of what sex is, which is that it's only penis and vagina sex and it's never anything else, and that sex is only for reproduction. And as I'm sure everyone watching knows, that is not the case. But, sex is for all sorts of things like fun and pleasure and all the rest of it. And there's plenty of sex in the world which is not hetero sex between two cisgender people. So, okay, so I've got a picture now. If you look on the Menti, I've got a picture of loads of vulvas, which I've taken from Instagram, and I've credited the person. So basically, just to show you that vulvas all look totally different to each other. I mean, this is only 12 different ones, but I have seen, so true story. So I'm a sexual health doctor. I have been since 2006, and my kids are teenagers, and they said to me, how many penises have you seen at work, Mum? And I thought about it, and I wrote it down. And I've probably seen 10,000 penises and about 10,000 vulvas in my professional life.
Nice.
The kids followed up, by the way, with how many penises have you seen in your personal life? I'm like, I'm not answering that question. Anyway, I've probably seen about 10,000. Of those 10,000 penises that I've seen, I've had to refer 2 people for surgery ever for medical reasons, and the other 9,998 were essentially within the normal range. I mean, they sometimes had STIs because obviously I'm a sexual health doctor, but normally, they're in the normal range. And of the vulvas that I've seen, I've had to refer one person ever for surgery because she had a problem that needed, and all the others fit within the normal range. So there's a massive variety, and of course they all look different to each other as well. And another thing I always say to young people, when they're worrying about is, are my genitals normal? Do they look okay? Are they the same as everyone else's? Should I be worried about them? Is if I got a group of 100 children or 100 adults to all take their shoes and socks off and compare their feet, would they all have different feet? Yeah. I mean, they really would. And no one worries about that. They're just like, these are my feet. And everyone's different and it's not a big deal. And you buy shoes that fit your feet and you don't really think about it in terms of what that matters. Well, it's the same with penises and vulvas. They're all different and you've got your own individual one. And that's, so I try and basically tell young people that and try and make it a bit more, I don't like using the word normal, but to normalize the fact that everyone's different.
See, I find that really interesting, if I may. Just why do you think that there is so much shame and stigma attached to the appearance of penises and vulvas?
So I honestly think that there's one of the reasons that there's so much shame and stigma is that young people are not shown any pictures. So they just don't know what they look like. They might have seen their own when they, most people are not in the position that sexual health doctors and nurses are in, where they've seen loads and loads of them, and so they're absolutely aware of what's normal and what isn't. Most people have seen very few, like maybe in their family members, and then when they become sexually active, maybe they'll see, the average number of sexual partners is below 5 for most people. And so they haven't seen very many. And then they might look, for example, in pornography, and they might see things which have been photoshopped or the CGI or someone who's had surgery, and they just haven't seen the normal range. Whereas all of us have seen loads of hands and loads of feet, and we're good with that, and we know what's different. And I genuinely think ignorance, basically.
Yeah.
But ignorance, not deliberately so, just because we don't really talk about it. And British people are really bad at talking about sex. I mean, really bad. So I can see someone's already answered my question, by the way, on the Menti, which is, can you point to the clitoris in this diagram that I've got? It's not a diagram. It's actually a plaster cast of an actual vulva, not mine, I should add. I found it on Instagram. I think that would probably be pushing it too far.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, maybe it would be fine. So if anyone is still here, do put the code in and show me where you think the clitoris is, and then I'm going to tell you about it. Okay, so it's there. I mean, everybody got that right. However, what you might not have realized is that is not the whole clitoris, and that is part of the reason we're having this discussion. That's where the clitoris is in that vulva. I've got a different vulva to show you, also not mine, showing you where the clitoris is. Now, when I was at school, and even when I started medical school, that was what we were told the clitoris was, that little tiny thing there underneath the hood. However, the clitoris is much bigger than that, and it's very different to that. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Looks like you're viewing this page in more than one window, but I'm not. Okay, who can tell me the year that the clitoris was fully described anatomically? So just type it in as a year, like with 4 digits.
I say I have no idea.
Well, I didn't know either. Okay, so the correct answer is 1998. So before 1998, the clitoris had not been described fully anatomically. And we were told that it was the little tiny thing at the top of the vulva. Except we were taught vagina, because not vulva, because, years ago. And in 1998, an Australian urologist did some MRI scans. So an MRI scan is when you go into the, it's called a donut. You go into the big donut and somebody does a scan of your insides and they can see things in 3D. And she did some MRI scans of the clitoris and described it fully and described all the different parts of it in 1998, which is literally after I started medical school.
That's shocking.
And I think that's really upsetting.
Mm.
And so, and when I did anatomy at medical school in the first year, I am not lying when I tell you that we were not shown at any point the clitoris. So we dissected a whole human body as part of medical school. It was all legit. And we weren't taught about that. It wasn't a thing. So that was in 1998. And I've got another question for you, which should come. Maybe not. Worked before, didn't it? Okay. Can people with vulvas have wet dreams?
I'm showing my ignorance by not knowing anything.
That's okay. So, when I was younger, and in fact, sadly, it's still in many schools today, people are taught that when you go through puberty, in fact, in schools they would say it this way, but I wouldn't say it this way. They would say girls have periods and boys have wet dreams. So I would say people with vulvas have periods, people with penises have wet dreams. So I wouldn't say that. I would say everyone can have a wet dream. And that's because there is far more in common with genitalia than there is separate. There's a view in the world that genitals are completely binary. That's not my view. There's a view in the world the genitals are binary. So you either have a penis or a vulva, job done, nothing else to think about. Actually, that is not how it works. So if you look at your phones again, you can see the way, can you see that? The way the genitals develop in the womb. So the top picture is what all fetuses look like at 7 weeks. You cannot tell if it's going to have boy genitals or girl genitals. Okay, that's what they look like. And then it starts to differentiate slightly at 9 weeks, but you still can't tell which one it would be. Then when you get to 12 weeks, this is in the womb, so not like a 12-week-old baby, it's a 12-week fetus. Things start to change slightly, and so you can see that people who are going to have male genitalia will have a scrotum, and people who are going to have female genitalia will have a labia. And then late fetus, that's just before the baby comes out, you can see that there's a penis on one side, and on the other side you've got the vulva and the clitoris and the labia. But if you look at the color coding, you can see that the labial tissue comes from the same type of tissue as scrotal tissue. And the glands of the clitoris comes from the same type of tissue as the glands of the penis. And basically there's an equivalent in male bodies and female bodies for every structure of the genitalia. And the other thing that's important to, I found really fascinating when I learned about it at medical school, and I still find fascinating now, is that all fetuses start off from the top, okay? And the default is that those organs would turn into female genitalia. And they turn into male genitalia in the presence of a Y chromosome and in the presence of a particular type of hormone called DHT and the right amount of testosterone. If you don't have a Y chromosome, if you do have a Y chromosome and you do have the right amount of testosterone and you do have the right hormones and receptors, then in the womb, the genitalia go down that pathway and you have a penis when you come out, okay? If, however, you've got a Y chromosome but you don't have the right kind of receptor or you haven't got enough testosterone, then you could end up as somebody who's got a Y chromosome, so they're XY, which some people would say that they must be a man. They're XY, but actually they're born with a vulva and a vagina. And when they go through puberty, they develop breasts and wider hips. But what they don't have is a uterus. Now, and though someone in that position would be intersex, and there's lots of different types of things which can fall into the intersex pattern, but that to me shows me that biology is not binary. It's actually a very complex process, and there are people of all different types. And in the Caribbean, there's a tribe of people who have they're quite isolated from the rest of the world. So genetically, they've got quite a high proportion of this particular type of hormone. And what happens is that some of the people who are born with XY chromosomes are born with a vulva and a vagina because they don't have enough testosterone for it to turn into a penis in the womb. And when they go through puberty, they have loads of testosterone. And when they go through puberty, their vulva and vagina turns into a penis and a scrotum. And so basically you've got children who are brought up as girls because that's, you know, when the midwife has a look at you when you come out, they go, oh, it's a girl or it's a boy or, oh, I don't know what this is. which is unhelpful. And in this society, people grow up as girls, and then some of them turn into boys when they go through puberty. And that, as I hope you can imagine, in that particular tribe of people, is seen as normal. It's fine. Sometimes when you grow up, you grow a penis, and sometimes you don't, and that's just how it is. And can you think about what gender roles might be like in that society? Are they, do you think, as fixed as they are in our society, or do you think they're a bit more fluid?
See, I would imagine they're probably a bit more fluid.
Yeah, I think they are a bit more fluid. I mean, I've not been there, so I haven't met them, but they are more fluid because actually it's accepted that some people change when they get older, and that's just the way that it is. So
See, I mean, I find this fascinating, especially the kind of just how like nature and biology is just so beautifully complex, right? Like the kind of
completely
like, how everything is like stems from this particular situation at 7 weeks. It also reminded me of like maybe why we can't sex a baby or a fetus.
Yeah, that's why you
before
can't.
a certain point.
Yeah, so you can't sex a baby until 20 weeks, because before then you don't know. You literally don't know which way that the genitals are going to go. But the other thing is, I said that there are equivalent structures in people with male genitalia and people with female genitalia, and that goes back to the wet dreams thing, which I promise I'd get onto, and ejaculation, which is when someone with a penis ejaculates, it's not just sperm that's coming out, it's sperm and also fluid from glands, which are called the prostate gland, that I'm sure you've heard of, the seminal vesicles that you might not have done, Cowper's gland, no one's heard of that, not even doctors. And then in people with female genitals, they don't have those particular glands, but they do have Bartholin's glands and they do have Skene's glands. And so they also make fluid. So when somebody with a vulva or vagina has sex, they can ejaculate from those glands in the way that someone with a penis would ejaculate with fluid from the prostate and seminal vesicles and Cowper's gland. So absolutely, people with vulvas can ejaculate, and they can have a wet dream, because wet dreams are ejaculation in your sleep. They're called nocturnal emissions if you're trying to not upset people. And
For polite society.
For polite society, they're called nocturnal emissions. But yeah, wet dream. So absolutely, somebody can have a wet dream, which essentially means you can have an orgasm in your sleep when you're a horny teenager or when you're a horny grown-up. It doesn't have to be teenagers. And one of the things that I get most exercised about in terms of consumerism and society is that we have this idea that people with vulvas shouldn't be wet. Well, that's absolute rubbish. Your vagina is supposed to be wet all the time, just as the meatus of the penis is wet all the time, and the inside of your mouth is wet all the time. So if you put your hand inside your mouth or your finger inside your mouth and it was dry, you worry about yourself. You think, why it should be wet? And the vagina is supposed to be wet all the time. Okay, so I've got another picture here, which is slightly more complex, but this is, remember I said how we didn't know what the whole clitoris looked like before 1998? This is actually what the whole clitoris looks like. The bit that's labeled clitoris glands is the small, like, love button that people used to call it. What else did they call it? Cherry or whatever.
Love button.
I know, love. I've heard that. Nubbin. Nubbin is a word I've heard as well. I hear all the words from the teenagers, all of them. But actually, the penis has got like so many more structures in it because it is very similar. Sorry, the clitoris has got more structures, very similar to the penis. And then if I go on to the next one, this is from a medical student's anatomy book. And the top picture shows you a female pelvis with a clitoris, and the bottom picture shows you a male pelvis with a penis. Again, color-coded so you can see the equivalencies between the things. And so here, you've got these structures here, same as the structures in the penis. And these bits here, same as these structures in the penis. And what that means is the penis, everybody knows, has erectile tissue, and so it can become erect. Blood rushes to the area, and then it becomes erect. The same thing happens to the clitoris. The clitoris has got erectile tissue in it, and it becomes erect. And I also have a picture of that. So this is, again, from Instagram. Instagram, honestly, so many wonderful illustrations and drawings and education. If you look on the left-hand side of this picture, you can see a non-erect clitoris sited inside, behind the vulva. And then you can see that as you become more aroused, it becomes erect. But the erect part of the clitoris is inside the vagina. And so that's why some people with vaginas really like penetrative sex and can have an orgasm from penetrative sex. and some need to be stimulated on the outside. Because yes, I've certainly read, and I'm sure it's true, that during puberty, the clitoris becomes erect as many times a day as the penis does. But because it's internal, it's not obvious in the same way as like young people with penises, you know, constantly like sitting down awkwardly and putting books over themselves in science lessons because they don't want anyone to know. Whereas what you find is that people with vulvas and vaginas are absolutely getting horny as many times a day, but just no one likes to talk about that, so they don't. Which I've always found very troubling. Why on earth would they not talk about it? Anyway.
It sounds to me like it's just a lot of shame, right? Like
There
there's a lot of
is
shame attached to
so
female
much-
sexuality.
Yeah, so much shame and embarrassment and stigma. And I can't tell you how many young girls have come to see me in clinic and said that the reason they're in clinic is that they've been told that their vulva is abnormal by somebody. Often, sadly, their partner, but you know, someone. And so sometimes I end up in a position where I'm examining somebody just to tell them that they're okay. Just to say, actually, your anatomy is fine. You don't need to worry about it.
Must be quite hard, I think, to have to always try and reassure people about their vulvas.
It is hard, and it's really it's a real shame in the other sense of the word, because, well, I know as a doctor that I've never had anyone come to me and say my hand looks abnormal. I've had people come before I did sexual health, people would say, you know, my finger hurts or my wrist hurts or I've fallen over, I've got a bruise, I've got a funny looking lump. But no one's ever actually said my hand looks abnormal in and of itself. But people will come and say my penis looks abnormal or my vulva looks abnormal. Except they won't use the word vulva. They'll say whatever word they use for it. And I find that really sad and almost heartbreaking that someone. And also, I find it really sad that somebody will come and see a random stranger, me. I know I'm a doctor, but I'm normally, obviously, they're strangers to me, to reassure them about their genitals because they're too embarrassed to talk to their family or to their teacher or to their friends or to anyone else. And I think that's terrible that that some people just don't have the ability to ask those kinds of questions and they don't feel that they're in a safe enough space. Whereas if they had really good sex education at school with proper pictures of all sorts of things, they wouldn't need to do that because they would know already that it was fine.
Yeah. And I mean,
You know?
there's also something to be said there about seeking care, right? I mean,
Yeah.
seeking healthcare when needed, because as you said, like when your finger hurts, you
Yeah.
go straight to a doctor and say, my finger bloody hurts, help me.
Yeah, exactly.
But like when it comes to genitals, if there's any sort of problem there, like pain or discomfort, because of the shame and stigma attached to genitals, people may not seek care timely enough, right?
I totally. And there's one of the conditions that I look after is not an STI. It's called lichen sclerosis. It's a skin condition. It can affect penises and vulvas, so it's both. And typically, people will wait years before they go and seek help. So they'll suffer at home in pain with like unbearable itching, with in some cases their genitals actually changing in shape because of the inflammation and irritation. But they don't come and see anyone because they're embarrassed. I just think that's awful because it's something that we can treat quite easily. It's something that we can solve the problem, and yet people are not seeking help because they're ashamed, and also because they don't know how to describe the problem. So I've honestly had women in their 50s say to me, "I'm itching down below," and it's not until I examine them that I figure out which bit is itching because they don't have the language. They can't talk about it because they haven't been taught. So I have another question on the Menti. Have you seen a 3D clitoris before? So either yes in a picture, yes as an object, or no. The code is still there. Yeah, the code is still there.
I mean, at least I can say, yes, today I've seen one.
Right now. And for those of you who haven't seen one, there will be one to see. Okay. So I've got some here that I'm going to show you, and they're not on the picture on your phone. They're just in real life. So I've got a green one and a red one. Here, do you want to hold that one? I've got a purple one with a jewel on it because why not? Although the jewel is obviously not in the place where the glands of the clitoris is. This bit is the glands of the clitoris that everyone talks about as a clitoris. Oh yeah, there, very good. And then these are the bits that become erect that are inside the vagina, and then there's these other bits as well. You can also get these, by the way, if you're interested, as Christmas decorations. And people today who've seen these have said variously that they would put them in their nipple, or on their lapel for World AIDS Day, or as a necklace.
The nipple's a good one.
Isn't the nipple one a good one? I think that would be
A
quite
clitoris
cool.
a clit on your nip.
A clit on your nip, why not? You could hang it in your nose piercing.
Oh, I
You
could.
although it might get in the way of eating. It might be a trouble. So I take these into schools because I think it's important that everybody knows what things look like. I mean, not for this, not for the purpose of this, but I also obviously take into schools like, condom demonstrators in the shape of penises and all sorts of other things. But it's not like I only talk about the clitoris, but this talk is about the clitoris, so that's what I'm talking about. I didn't want you to think that I was,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
spread the agenda.
Yeah, I think yes. Let's talk about more things, but and this is approximately life size. So
That's what I find really fascinating about the ones you've brought in, is you can see like the different sizes. And I
Yes.
think that's quite important as well, right? To kind of get that point across.
yeah, I think it is important. They are different sizes. The average size of the whole clitoris, by the way, is about 4 inches, and the average size of the whole penis is about between 5 and 6 inches. But the clitoris has got double the number of nerve endings as the penis. So this bit of the clitoris has got more nerve endings than the penis. The end of the penis does.
I would say lucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think lucky, but also it means super sensitive. So it always makes me. It doesn't always make me laugh. That's a horrible thing to say, but people with penises get very upset about being kicked in the balls. Like it's really painful. They don't like it. Believe you me, being kicked in the clitoris is really super painful. But I used to play rugby, hence I know why. Many things happen in rugby that shouldn't happen. Anyway, if you want your own 3D clitoris, you can search for a group called Cliteracy on Facebook, or you can just search on Etsy. I don't sell them, so I don't make any money out of this. And
Sorry about that.
no, that's fine. And now I've got the option of people asking any anonymous questions if they want to. So you can type them into the Menti. No one else will see your question, and I will answer them. I can answer, I can try and answer any question about the clitoris or the vulva or the vagina. I don't know if there's another way for people to interact with us. Are they able to put in a comment?
So I believe this is being live streamed
Yeah.
in a couple of places, so they write comments there.
Yeah.
And the team behind the scenes will
We'll tell
flag
us.
them up on the
Lovely.
screen.
Okay. So.
I'm trying to think of a question myself, actually.
Well. Oh, did you see that? I've also got small ones here.
Oh yeah. They're brilliant.
I know they're good, aren't they?
So what are these made out of, these 3D
These
clips?
are made of a special plastic called PLA. I don't know what that stands for, which is biodegradable and compostable.
Oh.
So amazingly, you can put these in your compost heap when you're done. I know.
That's impressive.
I mean, yeah. And they're also thermoplastic. So if you expose them to heat, they might melt. But I mean, I wouldn't advise exposing them to heat. I don't think that would work very well.
So for viewers at home, feeling this, it just feels like normal plastic.
Yeah, it does definitely feel
It's
like normal
very
plastic.
strange.
Yeah.
The idea that
Quite
it can be
hard.
compostable.
Yeah, and it's sort of But I suppose are bones compostable? Yeah, I mean, little mice that crawl into compost bin would come. Yeah.
Nice. Also, we have a question.
Okay. If the exposed part of the clitoris is 2 times the nerve endings of the penis, what about the part you cannot see? So it's the most nerves are concentrated in the penis, in the head of the penis, and the most nerves in the clitoris are concentrated in the glands of the clitoris, the head of the clitoris. So those are where most of the nerves are located for both the clitoris and the penis. So the very end of the penis is more sensitive than the rest of it. It doesn't mean the rest of it isn't sensitive. It is. It's more sensitive just on the very end. Please, can you tell me about clit construction for trans women? I'm going to have to be honest and say no, because I don't do that. Not because I wouldn't do that, but I'm a sexual health doctor. I don't do surgery. So I think you'd have to ask someone else who was an expert in that. Sorry. So I mean, I know that because a lot of the tissues are very similar, I know sort of from first principles that it is possible to end up in a situation where a trans woman is absolutely able to have surgery and enjoy sex and have an orgasm. But I don't know the actual mechanics of how they do the surgery.
From my understanding, as you said, like the tissues are so similar, essentially the same almost, that the clit is constructed using, I believe, the head of the penis.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And you're right, it depends on the person in terms of when it comes to sexual experiences. Some people do lose kind of like sexual gratification, but some people actually gain more sexual gratification. But it's absolutely possible. And I think sometimes that's what worries some people when looking at gender confirming surgery or gender affirming surgery, is thinking about, will they lose pleasure? Because people get told all the time, you will lose pleasure, but actually you don't, not all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's very important to understand. But also, as a separate note, not everyone has gender affirming surgery.
True.
And so that's certainly something that I think is important for people to understand, that there are absolutely plenty of trans people don't have gender affirming surgery and will never have it, and they don't want to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And in the clinic we see all types of people.
Yeah. Hi, me.
Yeah, no, well, exactly. And also, I always say this to medical students, that it's no one's business what your genitals look like, except for your sexual health doctor probably needs to know what genitals you have, so we know which bits to swap. It's actually important. And the person you're having sex with.
Yeah.
It's probably polite for them to know what kind of genitals you have, I reckon. I think it would be good if someone you're having sex with knew. No one else needs to know. No one else needs to know.
Agree.
And if you've broken your ankle and you go to hospital, no one needs to know what genitals you have. They don't need to know that. They need
surprisingly want to know.
Yeah, I know, but they want to. I honestly believe. So it's important if you're having orthopedic surgery that they know what medication you're on. So if you're on hormones, then absolutely they need to know what hormones you're on, like for the contraceptive pill, for any kind of gender hormones, anything like that, because those hormones can make you more likely to have blood clots. And if you're having orthopedic surgery, you're going to be still, and you might end up with blood clot. But they can know about what hormones you're on, and they don't need to know what genitals you have. So it's possible to say, actually, anyway, that's my little tiny rant.
I like it.
So I've got someone has told me that PLA stands for polylactic acid. Thank you so much. Polylactic acid. There you go. Vaginal cleaning and products marketed for this purpose. You do not need to use anything marketed for cleaning your vagina at all. You can use soap and water to clean the vulva. Do not put soap inside the vagina. Never buy Femfresh. The vagina is not supposed to smell like rose petals and Gwyneth Paltrow's goop. I mean, absolute rubbish. And that whole aisle, the feminine hygiene aisle, honestly, should be just lasered out of existence, because there's no scrotal hygiene aisle. So vaginal cleaning, honestly, soap and water, and the vagina itself is self-cleaning, so you don't need to put anything inside it at all. If there are twice the nerves, does that mean there's twice the sexual intensity? No, I don't believe that it does. I think the point about the nerves is just that it's interesting, but no, I mean, absolutely everyone, well, almost everyone can enjoy sex. Not everyone. And the fact that you've got more nerves or less nerves doesn't really, fewer nerves. Is it true the muscles in your vagina are similar to ones in your throat? No one's ever asked me that question before. I mean, they do contract, the muscles inside the vagina. So, and the ones in your throat do because you swallow. I'm going to find that out. I mean, they're similar in that they are muscles, but I haven't really thought about whether they are the same. It's an excellent question. I've been asked 2 questions that I'm going to go away and learn about for next time. So are there any more questions?
We do have about 5 more minutes, so if there are any other questions.
Sorry, can I also say, I was asked about vaginal cleaning, but also, you also don't need to use fancy products on your penis either. You can just use soap and water on your penis. You don't need to put anything else. And in fact, the skin on the genitals is more sensitive than the rest of your skin. So quite often I see people in clinic with penises or vulvas who've got skin irritation, like eczema, things like that. And I just say to them, look, you just need to use soap and water, or even something like Aqueous cream or E45 instead of soap. And if you're using fancy products on your hair or on the rest of your skin, then wash it all off with water afterwards from your genitals. Do you see what I mean? And that solves quite a lot of problems. So you don't need, because, just as you don't need Femfresh, you don't need fancy man deodorant or man products. You can just have regular cleaning things. I realise that I will now never be sponsored by any cleaning companies. Shame. Can you pierce a clit? I mean, you can. I wouldn't advise it. The most people, I mean, you can pierce anything. Normally, though, people would have piercings. They would have a piercing of the hood as opposed to the clitoris itself.
Yes.
And when you say that, I mean, that's actually really funny. Someone's been using single malt whiskey to clean theirs. I wouldn't recommend that because it's very expensive and alcohol is a bit astringent. I don't like whiskey though, so do what you like with it. Can you pierce? Yeah, so most people would pierce the hood as opposed to the clitoris itself. I suspect that most piercers would not want to pierce the clit because if it went wrong in terms of an infection or bleeding, that could really mess with your sexual enjoyment. So I suspect that most people wouldn't do it. So yeah.
I think that this point around kind of feminine washing products, I think is fascinating in a way, I think from like a kind of like sociological perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of idea around like why, and I'm assuming that there is so much, again, stigma. It's interesting how a lot of this in my head is coming back around stigma and shame around
definitely.
what things smell like, what things look like. What does the future hold, I suppose, in terms of sexual health for people with vulvas?
I couldn't agree more with you. I think what I would really like to see is it's a slightly different point, but really similar, which is that quite often when people with vulvas come to see me for, they need to have a sexual health screen, they'll be like, oh, I'm really sorry, I haven't shaved, or I haven't, it's not tidy down there, or I haven't done this. And honestly, in the whole time I've been in sexual health, only 2 men have ever apologized to me for the state of their hair. I mean, there was nothing wrong with anyone's hair, I should point out. Obviously, I'm really not bothered. But why is it that women feel the need to apologise and men don't? It's a society problem. Why is it that it's believed that vulvas and vaginas should smell like rose petals and goop and scrotums can smell manly and sweaty? Actually, shouldn't they all just smell like they're supposed to smell? People smell. That's the deal. Like, people just smell, and different bits of your body smell differently. So you've got different smells under your arm to between your legs. And I think, yes, it's very interesting that there's this whole idea that people with vulvas are somehow unclean, and that people with penises can be sweaty, and that's manly and attractive. And I think, well, actually, why can't we just all be who we are?
I agree.
And that's something that I would like to change. And separately, women with vulvas who are using lots of things like Femfresh can end up with recurrent vaginal discharge, bacterial vaginosis, and ironically, more smelly because they've been using these products which actually aren't very good for them. And then they're more smelly. So what do? They go and buy more products. And then they use more. Oh my goodness. Capitalism is the root of all evil.
Yeah. It really is.
Probably shouldn't say that. Capitalism's fine. Okay, there's 3 minutes left. If there are any more questions, we're good. Otherwise,
I'm just trying to think if I have any questions myself, actually. Don't think so. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you, Eleanor.
You're very welcome.
This has been so enlightening, and I really hope that people listening and when they go out and speak to other people can kind of like share that message to destigmatize vulvas and actually know. I mean, I know what a vulva is as well.
Yes, I know. So many people don't know what one is, and I think if there's one thing I could do, it would be make sure that everyone in this country knows what a vulva is. Oh, the issues of appearance are, in my view, Sorry, this is a question. The issues of appearance are, in my view, linked to the reproductive need for women to look as young as possible. That's why women have less hair than men naturally. It's evolutionary. I mean, the thing is that smelling like Gwyneth Paltrow's goop wouldn't make you look younger. It would just make you smell of some very expensive liquid. But there is definitely a societal pressure for women to look younger than men in general, and for women to be less hairy. I would agree that.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our time. coming up next, we're going to have an interview with Dani, and very much looking forward to speaking with them. So thank you again, Dr. Eleanor.
You're very welcome. It was
were
really
amazing.
fun. It was really fun.
We're going to take a very quick, minute break just to change over, and we'll be right back. Okay? Thank you, everyone. We were on mute. Hello. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for just dealing with the little changeover there. So if you're returning or if you're joining, you've just watched me and Eleanor fiddling with some 3D clits, which was great fun. I managed to keep one as well, so I'm so excited. I'm going to wear it as a necklace and wear it with pride.
She stole it.
I stole the clip. So welcome back, Phil. Would you like to introduce our next guest?
So our next guest is the incredible Dani. They just did an event, and we're going to go into that.
Hello. Oh,
sorry. I think. Oh my god.
I've done it.
Sorry. Basically, me and our stage manager were battling on who was going to unmute you at the same time. So we were just like. So, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm kind of buzzing. I'm like that happy post session glow of being really excited and really just thrilled, but also like absolutely exhausted. But it's a great state to be in, and I'm just really thrilled. Like all the sessions that have been going on, like all the people in the cafe who've been to things and just hearing little snippets of their conversations. It's just so joyous. It's been a really wonderful day.
Can you tell us about the event, please?
Yeah, so I've done 2 events today. I did a workshop earlier, a session earlier called The Politics of Care, and then I've just come out of one about accessing bridging prescriptions for trans people who want to take hormones, or anyone who wants to take hormones. Yeah, this morning's session was really I found it really powerful. Just discussing with people about like quite big concepts about how like the system that we live in and the world we live in is so not conducive to care and to caring for ourselves and caring for each other. And it felt really sort of important to have that conversation in the context of the Love Hub, which is just all about care and all about community. And I think, I don't know, there's this real push-pull sometimes, isn't there, of like coming to events like all of the sessions today and yesterday and tomorrow and feeling like so part of like a really big community care effort, and then going back into the world and just not like the disjointedness of not being able to take that with you. So it felt, yeah, really, really lovely to have a space to sort of acknowledge that and to name that, and then hopefully for people to continue their own work and their community work in bringing all that care back out into the world, and into their own lives. And then the second workshop that I've just come out of about accessing hormones for trans and non-binary and gender non-conforming people. I was kind of like demystifying a little bit, and I was talking about other routes to getting hormones other than going through the gender identity clinic. And I made my first zine. It's the talk of the town. But yeah, I made like a whole little zine about like all the steps involved and all the information that you need. And it was really lovely for me to do it, like to sort of acknowledge in myself that I have this information and just to share that with the community. And I think people said they found it really useful, and it was nice as well that there were a couple of people in the session who were like not trans or non-binary or gender non-conforming, but like were there to support their friends. That felt like really beautiful and really in the spirit of like good actual practiced allyship. So yeah, I think it's been, if I may say so, a triumph.
Good.
It sounds like a triumph. It sounds like an absolute victory. I mean, I was just thinking there when you spoke about like kind of information for accessing hormones as trans and non-binary and gender non-conforming people. I remember when I first came out, I could not find any information anywhere. So I just wondered if you had any kind of advice now for anyone watching, kind of like where they might start in terms of looking to access any sort of gender affirming care.
www.queerhealth.info. But no, for real, I mean, all the information that was in my session and the zine I made is going to be uploaded to the website. So that is one starting point. But as I said, like in the workshop, the best resource we have are our peers and our chosen friends and family who have been through the system, who have navigated it, are in the process still of navigating it. So I would always just speak to people who've been there or are there right now. And if you don't have access to those people in your life at the moment, there are so many Facebook groups and like Instagram pages and places where people are just generating their own peer-to-peer like health advocacy and healthcare support. So yeah, I think don't try and go it alone. Like, yeah, certainly look at the Love Hub and queerhealth.info, but also go to your community, because that's our best resource.
I'm just putting the website up on.
Very slick, Phil. Very slick.
Very smooth. I was like with one hand just trying to do it really subtly. That's
brilliant.
Also on our website are all the events that we have on this weekend. So check that out. And you wrote about this as well, didn't you? You actually, I read the article that you did. It went up very recently.
Yeah, that's right. So I wrote this article, 5 things I learned when I was trying to access healthcare as a non-binary person, which kind of did mention bridging prescriptions, but it was more like a broad sort of overview of my experiences, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, very that. And I guess that like for people who are not really sure where to start, maybe that article might be like a cute place to start. It's not like reinventing the wheel or anything. There's definitely just like reiterating an experience that's common to so many trans, non-binary and gender non-conforming people. But yeah, it's at least a fresh, exciting article. So it's got the newness factor. And it's just actually the first piece of I think a number of pieces that I will be contributing to the website on those themes. So if you enjoy the workshop, or if you enjoy my writing, or if like, I don't know, the way that I communicate is clicking with you, there's going to be a lot more information being uploaded onto the website over the coming months. And like, I'm sure lots of ways for people to get involved as well, and like sharing information together. So yeah, I think that's a good introductory starting point.
Do you have a question? Because I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay. My question is, how do you find out about how did you find out about the information that is there, or the services, or whatever? Like how? Because like I mean, I'm just curious. Like, how do you find that information to then be able to distribute that information? If you know what I mean?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I wish I'd had a zine explaining it to me. And probably for real, there was one, but I just didn't have access to it because it's just not like, I don't know. These are not things that are talked about in wider healthcare. And like, if I could have gone to my doctor and said, "Oh, I'm thinking I want to access a bridging prescription for my hormones," and they'd be like, "Oh, here's this zine that we have." Like, can you imagine a reality where that's the case? So I think a lot of the information I've just like found out for myself, because I do have the capacity to sort of do this research, to be my own advocate, and I can talk like this quite confidently. So I think it was just a lot of trial and error in my case. And then, as I say, like reaching out to friends who were navigating the system as well, and like putting all of the disparate bits of information together. But I did also do a lot of like Google searches. Like I just typed it in and saw what came up, and I trawled through quite a lot of like very dry medical guideline documents until I found the thing that I needed. So it was not easy, and it took a long time. So if I can simplify and shorten that process for anyone, then I feel like my work here is not done, but way.
No, that's absolutely amazing. And I think that, you know, what we know as trans and non-binary people is the kind of the gaslighting and the gatekeeping and the girl bossing of like healthcare services, particularly like transition related healthcare services. Like some of the work I've done before is kind of really highlighted particularly non-binary people's experiences where they're just not believed by any of the kind of cisgender clinicians who just want to kind of keep saying, we don't think that you're sure enough about this, or we don't think you're ready. Maybe if you try dressing like this, then you might be seen as more kind of valid in your expression. And it's all absolute BS completely. But I suppose that kind of moves me on to like what I would like to ask you is, do you have any advice for young trans and non-binary kids who are, you know, trying to navigate all this? What would you say to them now if they were listening?
Just that like you are your own expert, and like all of these so-called experts that you're going to have to see and all the hoops you're going to have to jump through, like they have no expertise on you, on your identity, on your needs. You are your own healthcare expert, so like you know what's best for you, and just like really keep that in your heart the whole time. And when people are coming at you with all of this like this gaslighting bullshit and so on, like just hold yourself in your heart and just remember that like actually you're not there on a whim, you're there because of you being you. And there was one more thing that I was going to say, I can't remember what it is, it's gone.
It might come back.
A key one. It might come back.
I have another question. It's kind of on like what I almost lost it. It's here. I found it. The information that you did find when you were looking, was any of it UK based or specific?
Yeah, so all of it for me is UK specific. I don't know anything about navigating any foreign healthcare systems at all, just because I haven't had to experience that. But yeah, so all the information that I have so far is for the UK healthcare systems. I certainly hope that in the course of the projects that I'll be doing for the Queer Health Info website, that I will have a platform to share other countries' healthcare systems as well. But yeah, for the time being, it's all specific to the UK.
Fair enough. Okay. Do you have any more questions?
No, just a massive thank you for joining us, because you know I think that more representation matters, and kind of like understanding issues facing trans non-binary people is still under discussed in a way that I think we would like them to be discussed. Hello transphobia, hello BBC. So like it's great to have you on, and great that you've been here with the Love Hub as well. So thank you.
I'm always happy to be in the bosom of the Love Hub. It's such a joy. Thank you so much. And yeah, please keep coming to all the workshops still to come. And yeah, it's been great.
Okay, thank you. You are now free to leave. We've held Danny against their will. So you can leave and join your friends.
I'm locked in this room.
We're joking. That's us. Okay. Well, I can't come out and hug you, unfortunately, but I will see you around.
You will. Thank you so much. Goodbye to you all.
Bye.
Bye.
So up next we have Mark. So Mark is going to be interviewing he's going to be talking to queer parents about what the difficulties, the challenges, the excellent and positive experiences of what it means to be a queer parent. So yeah, we're just going to put up a quick banner and then we'll do the transition.
Thank you all.
Apparently I was muted. Hi, Rich.
Hiya.
Good afternoon. Am I live?
You look
Hi,
like-
everybody. Welcome to the Love Hub Live. I'm Mark Thompson, one of the founders of the Love Tank and Prepster. And it's been a great weekend so far at the Love Hub down at the Glass House in Shoreditch. My session now, I hope you've been tuning in, is around queer parenting. As we move forward in this world, there are more and more opportunities for us to become parents in this life, which is a really great thing. And I'm here today with my wonderful friend, Rich Scarlett, who is going to join me to talk about what it means to be a gay dad. And hopefully there's going to be another person joining us called John, John is currently in another session talking about gay parenting. So it's a busy weekend for gay parents everywhere. And with Christmas coming up and all the rest of it. So welcome, Rich.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So Rich, really lovely to be here. Really lovely that you're here. And I want to kick off with just starting with first question. Tell me about, what's your family makeup?
So I am a gay dad. So I live with my husband and our 3-year-old son, who was born in the US via surrogacy. So that's our little family as it stands at the moment.
Yeah. And how is the little one?
He's good. He's good. Not napping. So yeah, that's that's why you might hear him in the background.
So Rich, I just want to start off with just asking you, how did you come to being a parent? Was it something that had always been something that you wanted to do? Did you think as a young gay man that it was a possibility for you?
Yes and no. So it's something that I personally have always wanted a journey that I've always wanted to go on. And when my husband and I were dating, it was quite a big part of our conversation, because for me, it was pretty much a deal breaker. You know, I'm not going to go down that road with someone who doesn't want the same things in terms of children. I didn't at the time know how it was going to be possible, or I didn't really have a good understanding of the options that were available to us. But we were both on the same page. And I think around 2017, we decided, you know, it's now or never, we're going to take the plunge. So we started researching the options, and we went through the options of adoption, surrogacy, and various other routes, and selected surrogacy. So we started doing some research and looking at how we can actually make this happen. And we ended up in the US, in Idaho, of all places, because the US is just much better set up for surrogacy arrangements than places like the UK or some other places in Europe. And that's what our research told us. That's why we went down that route.
And was it a difficult journey, an easy journey? How was it?
There were ups and downs. I mean, the US, because they're not strangers to surrogacy, it was all very procedural. So, you know, it was step by step, you have to do this. There were difficulties, you know, because being so far away from the process and so far away from the surrogate and the pregnancy, that doesn't lend itself well to someone who likes to be in control of situations, you know, giving things over to biology and things like that. And then when we got back, there was a lot of paperwork to do on the UK side of it. But thankfully, we had a good kind of lawyer friend who walked us through it.
And did you find, did you have any resistance? I'm thinking now more, let's start off with friends and family. Was there any resistance? Did people question your decision around having children?
First of all, our families were amazing. And looking at the kind of generations and cultures that they come from, it was quite interesting to see them go on their own education and personal journey to understand what surrogacy is. They were reading books, they were watching films just so they could ask the right questions. And this was all unprompted by us. I think they were just that excited to have grandchildren from a couple that they probably didn't think would have children. You know, my mum used to say, you know, I don't think you're going to give me children. And I would always say, I will, watch me. So it was nice to see her go on that learning curve, and my dad as well. Friends-wise, some friends didn't get it. I think there was a lot of initial kind of, well, why do you want to give up your fabulous and carefree life to go and have screaming babies and a pile of nappies? But, you know, with some education and, you know, as they've seen things play out, they kind of get it and they think, you know what, that suits you. There were some other friends who, you know, had some pretty strong views about surrogacy and gay parenting. These are gay friends in particular. And, you know, unfortunately, those friendships just had to end because they came to a natural closure. But on the whole, it's been very, very supportive. And I think we're really lucky in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And so broadening the lens a little bit around support. So, you know, for most new parents, they're, you know, we live in a heteronormative world, and therefore a lot of services and support are set up for heterosexual couples, not same gender couples. And I'm going to split this into two parts. How did you find getting support as a queer couple? And then do you think there was a difference with you being a male couple?
So support, I mean, I don't think we had any issues with the general support, like the base level of support that you get as a new parent from, you know, the health services, child support services and things like that. I think they're all very, very educated and they know how to speak to family units like us really well, which was quite refreshing. Nursery teachers, doctors, everything, they've all been fine. Where we kind of fell down in that sense was around the more, I guess, informal support, like parent groups and baby activities and things like that you do when you're on maternity or paternity leave, just to get out of the house. And I think the shocking thing, or not shocking, but the surprising thing for me there as the primary caregiver on paternity leave was that it can be challenging to find or fit into a safe space there, because you're almost trying to assimilate into this traditional family setup where groups have, you know, a mum on maternity leave, a dad who's in the office, and then I rock up with this baby and there are some like looks and questions and you're either a novelty or you're an outsider. And it can be quite hard to kind of break through that barrier. And it can be quite emotive as well, because there's a lot of camaraderie around, you know, straight mums, because they've been through pregnancy, they've been through labor, they might have horror stories that they can share with each other. And I think for some of them, they might have thought, you know, he's taken easier, you know, he's just been handed a baby, or even worse still, he's bought a baby. And there was some things in that respect that happened, but on the whole, it was fine. But I think that's something that you don't really get until you're in it. Even the way that these groups are advertised and these services, it's always mum and baby yoga, mum and baby dance, mum and baby music. And that instantly is kind of the first brick on the wall that you're trying to break through. And it's slowly changing. And I am doing some work with certain groups to kind of help change that and help people understand the terminology, like parent groups, parent and babies, or even baby and me yoga would be better than mum and baby yoga. So it's just a constant education.
And so so I know that you are part of some groups which you've gone and you found. Tell us a little bit about where you're getting your support as a gay dad.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to the friendship thing, one of the things that happened overnight is that we realized that our priorities shifted, and a lot of our things in common with our original friendship circles went like that. So for us, we kind of had to look for other people who were on that same level and could understand certain things through our lens or our new lens. So we found some groups. There's a really, really good group of Black gay dads on Facebook called Black Gay Dads Global, which just connects everyone around the world, and we just talk about everything from everything you can imagine. But it's just nice to have that place where you can fit in, and that space where you can talk about your experience without, judgment or unnecessary questions, and people that just get it.
And in those spaces, Rich, because there's going to be a mixture of dads in there, right? From people that have had children through surrogacy, to those that have adopted, to those that have had children before they might have come out in previous relationships. What are you able to tell us? What are some of the issues that the other guys that you are engaging with are experiencing or have experienced?
Yeah, so you're right. It is a good mix, and a lot of the conversations, because a lot of the guys have gone the adoption route. So a lot of them talk about, the challenges of the adoption process in the UK in particular. Which can be lengthy and which can be intrusive and invasive and can put people off right from the bat. But more generally speaking, I think there are some issues. There are a lot of issues, even down to kind of workplace rights. I work for a really, really inclusive, diverse and understanding employer, but some people don't. And when I had my son, I originally wanted to take, or I knew I wanted to take, a long paternity leave to see him through, just like a mother would, because that was the best thing for him. Some employers are still on the back foot when it comes to that, even though it is legally acceptable. A lot of the guys in the group are finding that they've got to have this initial battle to break down gender stereotypes before they can even have a conversation about leave. Because it's just assumed that maternity leave is for women. So that is something that's also changing quite a bit, but I think it's quite slow in that respect, and it can have quite an impact, because when you've got a child in nursery, for instance, you will get a call at 12 o'clock to say, come get your child because they're hot, they've got a temperature, or come get your child because there's a chickenpox outbreak. And if you haven't got that set up at work, you're always going to have that guilt. And a lot of guys feel a pressure to either be a good parent or see themselves through to a leadership position, and it shouldn't have that trade-off. So that's one of the big issues. Another one is the UK surrogacy setup, because people like me have to go to America to do it. Whereas if we could do it at home, it would be a lot easier. And that's another thing that I'm trying to change, not single-handedly, but as part of, groups that are trying to move towards that. Because I think that's really, really beneficial, and it's really important for just reproductive equality in this country. So the laws at the moment, they were created in the 80s. They haven't been touched since then. And they're really, really prohibitive. So a lot of people are finding that they have to go abroad to sometimes risky countries where it can be an exploitative process or whatever. And all of that can be solved if someone just gave attention to the laws over here on surrogacy.
So how has becoming a dad changed your perspective as a gay man?
I think, like I said, priorities have shifted, and what I once thought was the be all and end all has changed. But I think that goes for any parent. As soon as that baby comes out, you just kind of have a shift. In terms of, you know, my social life and things like that, it is a little bit harder because I can't, you know, respond to that, what you do in text on a Saturday night and just say, yeah, come down to the bar, I'll meet you there. Because I think, well, I need a babysitter. I need to know if my husband's going out or what's going to happen. Same thing with drinks after work and just simple things like that you don't really think about. And also just being able to kind of talk to your mates about things like, you know, the baby was up 6 times a night. But when you do that, sometimes you just see them glazing over. And they're just like, yeah, that's great. But, you know, look who's hit me up on Grindr or whatever. And it's just, you know, it's just trying to find that middle ground where you can actually maintain that friendship on the level that you had before, but also talk to things that are interesting and important to both of you, you know, and there's a lot of compromise between that. So that dynamic shift is, that was quite interesting to navigate, but I think it's worked quite well.
Is there anything that you miss?
Well,
just hitting the clubs when you feel like it, right?
Yes, yeah, hitting the clubs when I feel like it, and yeah, just having that freedom to just, you know, say, I'm going out. I feel like going out. My friends are all going out, and, you know, yeah. And that's all I can say before 9 o'clock.
Queer safe space. So I want to be a little bit Daily Mail, if I can, right? And one of the controversies, which is shifting, has always been about children being brought up in same gender loving households. This notion that, oh my God, the children are going to turn out gay as well. They're going to turn out lesbian as well. How do you combat that if you've ever encountered it? What's your thoughts and your narrative around that?
You know what? Thankfully, I haven't encountered that personally. What we have seen in some of our friendship groups and at play dates and stuff like that is the mum will pull me to the side and say, so-and-so's asking why your son's got 2 dads. And, you know, how do I explain this? And, you know, what do I say? And I'm just like, well, say he's got 2 dads. And then she said, oh, I said that. And then she just carried on playing. I'm like, well, good. That's how it should be. So there's a lot of parents and other people making a bigger thing of it than it is. But, you know, with you, I'm preaching to the choir when I say that. In terms of broader, I don't know. I mean, one example is, you know, I was in a story in Pink News recently talking about my surrogacy journey, and that got posted on Facebook, and the comments underneath were, some of them were just poisonous. You know, it was just, you know, a child should have 2 mothers and blah, blah, blah. And I had this wave of guilt and self-doubt. And that was the first time I'd actually thought, do you know what? Am I actually putting my son in a negative position or starting him on the back foot for when he goes to school and things like that? But then I thought, no, I'm just going to raise him to know his story, be proud of his story, just like my parents did. And, you know, that's all I can do for him, and keep doing things like this to educate people and drive change where I can. And that's all I can do, you know.
So we were talking the other night about, you and I, about representation and how you're able to tell your little one about his journey and his experience and the world that he occupies. And I'm sitting in a really cool bookshop at the moment, and they've got amazing books around for young kids. And I'm just wondering, how are you going around? I want to come to the books and stuff, but how are you going about explaining to your little one about who he is and having 2 dads and, you know, being who he is?
Yeah,
he's only little still.
He is only little. He is only little, but those conversations are starting now. You know, because he goes to nursery and he hears mummy, mummy, mummy. So sometimes he comes home and he says it. And he went through a slight phase of calling all of our female friends mummy. And, you know, it hurt. I'm not going to lie. And it was the first knife in my heart, because I was a bit like, damn, I thought we'd have a bit longer before we had to have this conversation. But he's fine with it. Like he might bring it up. And then I say, well, you're lucky enough to have 2 dads. You know, every family is different. Some have 1 dad, some have 1 mum, some have 2 mums, some have a nana. Everybody is different. So we got him this really, really good book. It's called something along the lines of Every Family is Different. And it just goes through all different family units. So we try and buy him a lot of books that have family structures like us. But at the same time, we try to balance that because I want him to see that, you know, there is this spectrum and, you know, you don't have to be one way and everybody is the same. So I just want to expose him to as many different ones as possible. That being said, the gay dad books that are out there at the moment, they tend to be quite, it's a little bit too TMI for his age. Like they go into like real in-depth stories about reproductive cycles and things like that. Whereas I just want him to have a normal book like a Peppa Pig that happens to have two dads. That is just it. It's not a thing. It's not part of the story. It's not the crux of the story, just like it's not the crux of my story. It's just part of who I am. So that's what the market needs at the moment. And I think it's a case of if it's not there, you just have to create it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And thinking about, you know, there are people who are probably going to be tuning in or watching this later that may have challenges around, you know, starting parenting themselves. What advice would you give to somebody who's, you know, thinking about doing this?
First of all, I would say make sure you actually want kids because, you know, it sounds silly, but some people that I have spoken to do want kids. But then when you dig a bit deeper, the reason they want kids is the same reason that someone might want a certain pair of trainers or, you know, a dog or something.
Now, like aren't you?
I'm not talking to you. I'm not looking at you.
You know, I love trainers.
But, you know, a child is for life. But I would say have that initial thought or chat with yourself first because, you know, it's not easy and certain people make it look easy, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that is just hard in general with parenting. And then once you're set, just consider all options carefully because, like I said at the top of the call, there are a lot of different routes and not every route is going to be appropriate or accessible to everyone. So just make sure that you've got that kind of overview of the landscape and where you fit into it. And there are lots of groups and, you know, sessions and, you know, seminars and things like that. There are loads if you actually look for it, more so than when we were starting out. So there's a lot of information out there. Just kind of digest all of that, see where you fit into it. And because if you're fully informed, there's less chance of hiccups and problems along the way. And then probably most importantly, just build a network, whether that's friends or family, just a support network, because whatever path you choose, it's a bit of a wild ride and it's rarely ever smooth. And that's just kind of the beast of, you know, alternative routes to parenting. There's a lot of ups and downs and, you know, the downs can be really, really down.
Right. Right. And thinking about, I mean, you know, you're a black gay man and, you know, we as black gay men are already carrying quite a lot of stuff anyway. Is there anything which is unique about being a black gay dad in this world? I mean, that you've experienced, or there may not be, but I'm just wondering if there is.
I don't think there's anything necessarily unique. I think it comes down to fitting in again, you know, which is why I was so grateful to find this group on Facebook of Black Gay Dads, because there are gay dads groups, but a lot of them tend to be, you know, Chad and Michael from New York who live in the Hamptons, and, you know, they've gone through a surrogacy journey. So they don't look like our family and they're very different. As well as, you know, the parent groups like I talked about. So if you imagine, you know, where I live, the groups and how they're attended and the mothers that are in there. So I rock up and it's, first of all, you know, he's a gay dad, he's a big black man, what's going on, you know? So you've got that other additional talking point. And it gets interesting, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it, you know. And there's also kind of the, you know, I want to teach my son as much as possible about, you know, his history, because, you know, he's got a lot in there. He's got, you know, he's got my Caribbean background, he's got Spanish, he's got Puerto Rican. So I want to make sure that he's got a whole understanding of where he comes from.
Yeah, yeah. So he's moving into the kind of toddlerish age right now. How's that?
He's firmly in there. Yeah. If people talk about the terrible twos, but that was a breeze for us. As soon as he hit threes, I was just like, wow, that's why they call you a free-nager.
Or is that what they call them?
The free-nagers, yeah. And you can tell why. He's just, yeah, he's something else. Yeah. But apparently it doesn't end here, because I was speaking to another parent and I was like, I can't wait for the three-nage years to finish. And she was like, yeah, wait till you get to the fucking fours. So, great. I was like, when does it end? When they're about 11? I was like, okay.
No, I think it ends when they're about 26. I've got nieces, remember? And it never stops. And what advice do you give to parents who are in this period?
Wine. No.
Cocaine and poppers.
I don't know, because I'm just feeling my way around it. You know, sometimes I have to actually just leave the room and have a chat with myself, because, you know, you just get up to here. But then he'll just switch it off like that and then become the sweetest little thing. So I think it's just him. The advice, I think, would be to try and get into their head, because his brain is like a sponge and he's got so much going on. He's trying to learn things. He's trying to learn the English language and where he fits in the world. And it can be a lot, and also emotions, because when he gets really excited, he doesn't know how to express that. So it might come out in a tantrum. And if you start to understand where that's coming from, you can be a bit more sympathetic. You know?
Yeah. And thinking about, say, childcare, you know, so you know, again, in heterosexual relationships, there's usually, because of society, a quite general split, although that has changed over the years. How do you and your husband kind of delegate and sort out the duties? Is somebody on nappy duty more often than not, or do you have your favorite tasks, or does, you know, your husband kind of go, no, I'm not doing that? How do you split the childcare between the two of you?
Do you know what? I'm glad you asked that, because that is another challenge of, you know, gay parenting, because in, like you said, in the traditional setup, you've got a mother who traditionally would do most of those things. So I think one person still has to do that. It just falls into that. So you can have all the best intentions to split it equally, but what I've discovered since having my son is that there's this massive thing called a mental load, which I'd heard people talk about, but I didn't actually know what it was. Right. But it's just knowing in your head exactly what's going on at all times, when doctor's appointments are, when trousers are too short and you might have to buy some new ones, when the school needs a new book back, or when, you know, just when things are happening and what's happening in your child's world, as well as what's happening in your household. And that is just this invisible burden that a lot of women do talk about. You know, they're quite open about, you know, having to bear the mental load. And I didn't take it seriously until I became the one who had to bear the mental load. And it's a lot. And, you know, my husband does chip in and do things, but he doesn't even know the name of, you know, our son's doctor. He doesn't know when his next checkup is due or whatever. That's all in here. And that can be quite heavy sometimes, but that's why I don't think it's easy to share that part of it. So yeah, he does all the washing up and everything else, but I keep things ticking over.
And how do the two of you, I mean, you know, because, you know, little man takes up quite a bit of your time and all of the rest of it. So how do you two, because life shifts and life changes, how do you two now find your space? How do you maintain and create that space for you? And you can't say babysitters.
No, if only, but they're expensive. But it's important as well. So one of the things that was something else that we had to navigate. So the first 9 months to a year, it was just a complete write-off, because we were finding our feet with parenting, we were sleep deprived, and, you know, we just couldn't actually see a way. Our conversations were about the child, and our conversations were about, you know, what his poo looked like, and, you know, when was the last time he had a wee, and when was the last time he ate, and it was really functional. But after that, we just realized that we needed to find a way to come back together, and to do that, we had to find ourselves first. So I had to kind of remember what made me interesting before I had a child, and what my interests were before I had a child. And then from there, we kind of went into this whole, what do we like about each other, but what attracted us to each other in the first place, just to try and reconnect. So we started almost dating again.
Okay.
And we just make time. We make a concerted effort to have a date night at least twice a month, because I think that is really important. And on those date nights, baby talk is off limits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only way to survive. Trust me.
And dinner once a month with me, I hope. And,
yeah, you take up one of my date nights.
yeah. All right, sorry. And then I suppose thinking about the future, I mean, because I've known you for years, and one of the things that I'm really hearing come across in your conversation is you're becoming this activist around parent rights and changing that narrative. So what does the future look like for gay and for queer parents?
Brighter than it was. So, I mean, the whole kind of activism thing is not something that I ever set out to do. But the more I talk about it, the more I realize, there's a lot of work to do and there's a lot of change to do, and a lot of things that just aren't fair. And I think because we've gone through this process and we're actually going through it again a second time, I feel like all of the knowledge and experience that we've gathered, it's a shame to just keep it inside and not use that to make changes for the next person. So in terms of what the future looks like, I think if I was a betting man, I would say that the UK surrogacy laws would be next on the list to change. Because when we were going through the process, even the judge that was handling our case was saying, this is ridiculous. We had to go through a process for 7 months, complete mountains of paperwork just to be recognised as the legal parents of our son. And he said that is ridiculous given everything that you've gone through in the US. So I think a change is coming. There are a lot of legal firms in the UK working on kind of drafting reform statements and proposals and things like that. So I think as soon as that happens and, the playing field is leveled between the UK and the US, game changer for everyone over here. Definitely.
Great. And we're almost out of time, so I think I'm going to wrap up with it in a minute. But you've spoken about the challenges of getting to where you are. What are the joys of where you are now?
The joys. It's a sense of achievement, because like I said at the beginning, I didn't think it was something that would really happen for us. So it's a sense of achievement every day. And, as difficult as he can be, I'm so grateful that, we have him and, you've met him. He's cheeky as hell, but, he's the most loving little boy. And I think seeing the way that my husband and I's relationship has evolved and we've both become these, carers of this little human, is just really nice. And he just surprises us every day as he's growing. So that's kind of the biggest joy, I would say.
And what's your favorite thing about the little man?
God, I don't know. I like his curiosity. Every time he experiences something new, it's like I'm experiencing it again for the first time, whether that's Christmas. We took him to the Lego store today and you should have seen his eyes. And it's just seeing it through those young eyes. It just takes you back to it. And we're going to Disney World next year. So I'm just getting ready for the tears from me.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke the other day, and sadly, he's not completely convinced by Disney yet, is he? So we've got work to do there.
He will be when I hold him up like Simba in front of the castle, and he hasn't got choice, and my husband's singing "Circle of Life." Then he'll be like, "What is this?"
Oh God. Well, listen, Rich, thank you so much for sharing your story and your narrative and your experience today. Rich, just real quickly, is there any groups or anything that you just want to tell people that they should definitely check out, and we'll make sure that people know about it on our socials? Is there any parenting groups or support that people should definitely know about?
Only, if you are a parent at the moment, check out Black Gay Dads Global on Facebook. If you're looking to become a parent, check out Growing Families. They do a lot of seminars in London, which I'm sometimes speaking at. Both of those are on Facebook.
Great. Rich, it's been an absolute delight. Thanks for giving us this time this afternoon. Your backdrop's gorgeous as well, Boo.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon. Give my love to the boys.
I will do. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. And we're done. It was Rich. Oh, they've cut me off. Oh, we're almost done. I'm going to hand... They cut me off midway. Don't they know who I am? I'm going to hand you back to the very lovely Talon and Phil. Thank you.
Oh, typical. Today's got nothing but keeping us on mute. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming back. Or I hope that you enjoyed the session with Mark and Rich. Phil, what did you think about today?
I think today's been fun. It's been insane, which is typically how the Love Hub is. But yeah, it's been really good. I think there's been so many. I feel like there's a different energy about it this year. Yeah. What do you think?
Oh no,
This is your first Love Hub, isn't it?
It is. It's my first Love Hub and my first time ever co-hosting. So this has been an incredibly enriching experience. And I just want to say a massive thank you to the Common Press here at the Glass House, who have been kind enough to let us use these lovely little booths you can see, although we've been very distracted by people coming and going. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of reflect a little bit. Just, today's been incredibly interesting. Like, talking to Dr. Eleanor was probably a highlight for me, and learning a lot about clitorises, which I had no idea about before. Yeah, right. And I suppose we're just kind of like finalizing today, and I think so. Essentially, tomorrow we're back live again at 2:00. So please do come and join us if you enjoyed it. And we've got lots of stuff going on tomorrow. Generally, there's I think 6 Love Hub events.
Yes, and there's still several events across today and tomorrow. So if you, it might be easier to give the Queer Health website than that, because I didn't realize the dash. I guess if you go to queerhealth.info, it has all of the events that we have for Fringe. So yeah, check that out as well.
Yeah, and so tomorrow we're going to be having some talks from Alison Spanky, and that's going to be a spanking masterclass, which I am really excited for. No idea why. But it seems really exciting. Do you know what else is going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I'm hosting an event in the morning, 11:30 to 12:30 on black hair. Actually, black hair care and sort of attitudes towards hair, and have black men with long hair and masculinity and like being professional in the workplace and all that jazz. So that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's first thing in the morning, and then after a few hours after, we're back here.
Yeah, amazing. So I think that's everything for today. I can't think of anything else that we need to cover. We are ending a little bit earlier than planned. We're meant to go on till 5. But for now, I think we should say goodbye, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And do reach out to the Love Hub.
There's one thing. Sorry. I'll do this. We're at the Glass House where we are right now. It's in London. It's in East London. It's 118 Bethnal Green Road. It's right by Brick Lane. We also have HIV and STI testing here. So if you do come to any of the events, there's a room in which you can get tested as well. In terms of social media, we have 10 million. Twitter, Prepster account is at Team Prepster. Our the Love Tank is the Love Tank CIC. Instagram is the Love Tank CIC for that, and again Team Prepster. Facebook is prepster.info. Again, if you search the Love Tank CIC, it will come up on Facebook. So thank you for joining us.
Fabulous, thank you. Yeah, I just quickly again, I suppose I love how we're saying goodbye, but get in touch with us via social media. Let us know what you think, how you felt the day has gone for you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I think that's now a proper goodbye.
Have you ever seen like the Irish goodbye online?
Bye. Yes.
Yeah, the Irish goodbye, like we're not actually going, but not the Irish goodbye, it's what's the other one? Brexiting.
Oh god.
And you're kind of saying bye, but you're not going. But bye.